Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Well, week 0 is in the books. Terrible name, not enough football. Need to find a way to play more games in Hawaii or in foreign countries, even if just like run to Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal. Actually had a BYU fan say, go to Calgary. There's tons of BYU fans up there. Wherever. Play that first weekend. The eyes are on the Big 12. Play then. Give yourself a bye later in the year or play a 13th game, either one. Whatever you want. I think ESPN and Fox pay for more games. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Now, as far as the action on the field, K-State and Iowa State, it wasn't great field conditions. It was raining. It was washing the paint off the field. That was crazy watching them repaint the field while the game was going on. There were drops because of the weather, a couple big plays. Iowa State secondary did not cover itself in glory, getting beat deep twice in the fourth quarter when they had the lead on double moves. That was not the smartest football I've ever seen. They got to tighten up the act, and they may well before they get back into conference play. I don't want to judge anyone too harshly on the opener, but it was noticeable. It was absolutely noticeable. Now, Rocco Becht, I thought that was a solid performance by him. He did have to deal with some drops, and it wasn't ideal conditions for throwing the ball. There were some curious decisions there. I don't know why you don't kick the field goal at the half when you're down there. That doesn't make any sense to me. Take the points, get a little momentum. It was a low-scoring game. Kick the field goal, take the points, have the lead going into halftime, feel better about yourself. What about the psychology of it all? Apparently that got blown off. As far as the other Big 12 Mountain West game, Kansas just outclassed Fresno State. Now Fresno State on the road. Group of 5 playing up, and who knows how good either one of these teams are. We could be fooled by a Week 1 result. But, man, if you're Kansas, you're opening that stadium. You want to come out with a good performance, and they did. It was 24-7 at the half. They got the other touchdown early, or midway through the third quarter, 31-7, and that was it. Nothing really happened in the last 20 minutes of that game. I thought that, we're looking at all the quarterbacks. How good are the defenses? Now, the Kansas defense gave up a touchdown on the opening drive, but after that, no more points. So that's something to keep an eye on. We've talked about the best quarterbacks in the league. Who has the best defense in the league? Who has the best pass rush in the league? This is all to be sorted out, and we'll try to come up with definitive answers in the first game or two. But you don't know, as many coaches, including Kyle Whittingham, like to say, and I assume Bronco and Kalani have been doing it, they would say the same thing, but I've heard Kyle say it. Man, it's just you got to get 3, 4, 5 weeks in, and then you get an idea who's doing it consistently and who does it one time because the other team's bad, right? So, and whether that's whatever, pass rush, defending the deep ball, able to stop the run, whatever it is, run the ball, stop the run, all that kind of stuff. And then you got Stanford, who, we thought was probably going to be bad. They lost their quarterback. He transferred to BYU, Bear Bachmeier, so they went with Gulbranson. And, man, he was 15 of 30, threw a pick that really hurt him late in the game. It was just – that was a terrible performance by Stanford. That's really depressing to go out to Hawaii and get beat 23-20 and give up 2 late field goals when it looked like you might win the game and to have the turnover. They did run the ball, so there's that. But, man, you're facing a J-Hill defense. You've got to be able to run inside, run outside, throw short, throw medium, throw deep. If you can't do something, then they just don't defend that, and they go and concentrate on defending stuff you can do. And Stanford clearly does not have the passing game right now. They got their back over 100 yards, so okay, we'll give them that. But, man, if BYU can just stack the line of scrimmage and not worry about the passing game, how easy is that Stanford game going to be? I mean, really, when you looked at the schedule, you thought they were going to start 2-0. But now that you've seen the first week, Tarleton State went to Portland State and won 42-0. As Stanford went out to Hawaii and lost 23-20. Hawaii was favored in that game, depending on where you looked. Basically, Vegas hit the spread in that game. So BYU ought to start 2-0, and it's perfect for starting Bear Bachmeier. The defense should be really good in these first 2 games. They shouldn't give up very many points. So Bachmeier and the offense don't have to do a lot. If they do and they win big, so be it. They are 43-point favorites this week. 43-point favorites. All right. Excellent. Fantastic. So there's the opening week 0 for football. The other game, there was a Mountain West game, and you Utah State fans might care about this. UNLV really struggled with Idaho State. They got beat on a trick play, a double pass throwback deal for a touchdown and made it 10-0 early. Vegas chased the game. Idaho State was able to move the ball and put points on the board. It was tied 24-all. Idaho State scored, I think it was early fourth quarter, to go up 31-24. I mean, Vegas, what are you doing? What are you doing, Dan Mullen, the former Utah quarterback coach who was at Florida and Mississippi State, is now UNLV's head coach after a few years on the ESPN broadcast or ESPN studio for all their games. Got to give it to them. They did rally late. They got 2 fourth-quarter scores. They turned that thing around and won that game. So got the tying touchdown, got the winning touchdown. But, man, I don't know. Vegas had a great year last year, but the coaching staff is gone. Players scatter. You lose a certain number to seniors. You're going to lose the transfer portal. It's just amazing how everybody – was it Kansas? I think Kansas I think it was Kansas's leading receiver was at Ball State last year, right? We dismissed these guys. He did it at a lower level. We hear a lot of people saying – I actually had a BYU fan telling me that about Devin Dampier after the RSL game, leaving the stadium. Why is Devin getting all this hype? He was in the Mountain West. There are tons of players moving up from the FCS level and from the G5 level and performing well. Basically, everyone's treating the MAC like they used to treat junior colleges. Go there. If you do well your freshman and sophomore year, we'll come get you. And we've seen lots of teams do that. And, it works the same way in the Mountain West. Broncos been really clear about that, hey, they know how the feeding system works. They know how it works. Anyone who excels is going to get offers, period. End of story. So UNLV does have to rebuild. And they did get a week 1 win, but he's trying to figure out who's good and who's not. In the Mountain West Conference, if you're a Utah State fan, man, Fresno State and UNLV did not cover themselves in glory here in week 0. That's to be sure. Hawaii, on the other hand, hey, they got that win. They tend to win at home and lose when they go on the road because every road trip's a long road trip for them. They only have 5 road games this year. So if they could pick off 1 or 2 of them and win at home, who's to say, right? Who's to say? Maybe they'll have a big year. All right, DJ and PK, that's the football. The soccer next, Real Salt Lake. So that's what the top of the league looks like. That's what the best team in the league looks like. If not the best team, one of the best teams in the league. We'll get to that next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Well, Real Salt Lake got beat 3-1 at home by Minnesota. Now, Minnesota's second in the West. Minnesota's a good team. RSL has had some luck with good teams. They split with San Diego, who's first place in the West. Lost at home, but went down to San Diego and won. And Cincinnati's one of the best teams in the East, and they lost to them at home 1-0, but they really battled with them. I thought this game was different. I thought what Pablo Mastroeni said last week about the team not really believing, I thought that was on full display again this week. I thought it was on display in Charlotte. I thought Pablo was right, and I thought it was on full display here. They gave up bad goals in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of both the first half and the second half. The first half, the ball sent in, man, the center back and the goalkeeper, there's got to be better communication. And I don't know how loud Cabral was. It's like a center field calling off a shortstop or a second baseman. You're the one who's got the view of the play. The other guy doesn't know what's going on. You got to make yourself heard. Now, maybe it was loud. Maybe Glad should have heard him. I don't know. We're on the 4th floor, midfield, and they're way down there at the south end. But Glad didn't know what was behind him, so he headed the ball out and gave up a corner to a team that's really good at set pieces, a team that has 8 players over 6 feet tall. They are a huge team in Major League Soccer. And sure enough, they score on the corner that shouldn't have been given away in the first place. And they scored without touching the ball. It's driven in low. Diogo flicks it, changes its path. It hits Vera in the hip and goes in. Own goal, bang, you've gifted a goal. They didn't earn the corner. They didn't earn the own goal. You just gift-wrapped it to them. And then it was a soft giveaway, a bad giveaway between 2 guys who haven't played together. It was Yedlin, who's brand new to the team, and he tries to pass the ball to Kaliskan, who's been at right back, but now Yedlin's got that, so he moves to defensive midfield. So he's in a new position this year. It's one he's played historically, but he hasn't played it this season. And these 2 guys haven't played together. They give the ball away, bang, there's another goal. And they lose 3-1. I did think Olatunji was the real deal. My gosh, he created 3 really good chances in the first 25 minutes. Only finished one of them, did get the game's first goal. And then you see him out there just destroying people. So big, so fast, so strong, plays so aggressive with such confidence. Then he comes into the press room. He's just the nicest, soft-spoken guy. The athletes who can do that, who can just turn it on when they step across the line and then turn it off when they step back, really amazes me. It just amazes me. Here's Victor Olatunji after he scores the goal in the 3-1 loss to Minnesota.
My first impression is I'm very happy to be here first, and also the fans also, to be here in this kind of atmosphere is also an opportunity for me, so I'm very happy. That's my first impression.
Was the elevation hard to deal with?
I think from when I came was very hard, but now I'm okay with it.
Can you take us through the goal and some of the other early chances you had and how they were created and how you think you can improve on some of them going forward?
Yes, I will still improve on everything because I'm still a human being. But during the goal, for the goal, I just know that he's going to play inside because we train for the past couple of days. We train for this, and I just need to be in the box at the right with the right runnings, and I just put it at the back of the net.
Yes.
It's a pretty cool hat. Where'd you get your hat from?
From Prague. I got it from Prague, yes.
And then how has your acclimation to MLS in general and to the United States been so far?
I mean, for me, it's strange. I will be honest, it's strange because the system and also the tempo is different from where I'm coming from. So I think it's different from where I'm coming from.
I had a question. You just came here from Europe, a continental, move. Is it easy? You scored in your first game at home. Is it easy to come to a new place and just start scoring?
No, it's not easy. 100%, it's not easy. But as a professional in what I'm doing or what I do, I just need to adapt to the system as quick as possible. The US is not my first country to play in. I've played in different countries. I just need to adapt to the system and get it from there.
Hey, Victor. In the time you've been here, in your conversations with Pablo, has he laid out any kind of specific things that he's trying to get you to do, or is it just kind of just be in front of goal, cause distractions? Is he just trying to keep it simple, or is he giving you specific instructions?
No, yeah, he is because he's a coach, and I'm also a player that worked with him, and he gave me some important decision and some things to do on the pitch and off the pitch also.
All right, there's Victor Olatunji. Now here's the head coach, Pablo Mastroeni.
The guys executed the game plan. However, the game state's different. And so, we can talk about how we wanted to attack the game, how we wanted to defend the game. At the end of the day, when you concede a goal like that, and the second one as well, I think they were soft. They were soft goals. And so, from an attacking perspective, I love the way we got balls in the box and fed the big guys up there. And obviously the goal that we scored is probably one of the best goals we scored all year. So it just comes down to, especially against this team, that prides themselves on set pieces. And that's something that I think we balanced the right way this week, where it wasn't over the top, but it was this is where they're good. And so we've got to be better. And tonight we weren't in that phase.
So they knocked you out in the playoffs last year, and they went 2-0 and 3-1 this year. This lineup tonight, going with their listed heights, 8 guys 6 feet or taller, 2 guys 5'11", and Will Trapp. And the way you played so many short corners, it looked like it was angles trying to work around big guys. As much as the RSL roster's been rebuilt and 3 new starters in the lineup tonight, do you have to keep looking for more size given what you're running up against?
I think it's really the modern game. I think you watch football all over the world, and size matters, speed matters, and those I think become the nuanced part of the game. It's not you don't want just a big guy who can't play soccer, but I think there is value in having a team that can defend set pieces and attack set pieces the way they do. And so I think from our part is we want to continue to work on that phase of the game, and again, the guys have been, when we're training it, it's hard to recreate the pressure on said corner kick in training. It's because the tactic is understood, but then the playmaking within that has to show up on Saturday, if not. So to your question, I think, I think the size that we've got in Victor and Juan, I think make a difference. I think change the profile of the way we attack. If teams are going to give us the half space for our 10s to run into, that's great. But if not, if they're closing that off, then we have two guys in the box that can use their size and their aerial ability to get points on the board. So, yeah.
You gave up a goal early in the first half, also gave up a goal early in the second half. What went wrong in the giveaway? Because clearly that was in a bad spot there.
Yeah. Again, it's anytime those plays happen, it's always the passer and the receiver, right? I think it's both of those things. And to be fair, though, having given that play, that initial play up, we still had two more chances to have some good box defending to put that fire out. So again, if we're going to be a team that wants to throw numbers forward and really press them, the way we defend in transition, and it's something that we continue to work on, has to be elite. Has to be elite for those moments. Again, because we don't want teams to dictate to us how we want to play, right? We want to continue to get better at the way we want to play. And unfortunately tonight, that third goal really took the wind out from our sails and allowed them to get kind of comfortable doing what they like to do, which is defend deep.
It looked like Olatunji had 3 good chances early in the game. Is the way he plays with his size, his speed, his aggressiveness, and his willingness to just keep moving, is that going to create gravity and open the game up for Diego Luna when they finally get to play together?
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing with Victor is that, again, I think we have to modify the way we get balls into the box. It can't always be on the ground, right? I think he allows us to be more diverse in the way we want to get balls in the box, but he is really comfortable with his feet in tight areas as well. I think you saw tonight, like these one-touch layoffs, he's fantastic in what he's done. So I think, again, his understanding of the way we want to play, and more importantly, his teammates and how he can play off of them. And that's why these next couple of weeks are really important to have Diego Luna in camp and getting those relationships going, because I think he's going to always occupy a minimum of 2 players, and that leaves space for a guy like Diego to reap the benefits of that.
So given the fact that, oddly, you're not going to play another game for 3 weeks now, how much of this is about time off and rest and recuperation, and how much is about training camp, essentially, a mini camp to integrate these players?
Listen, we want to get to the playoffs. There's no time to take time away. I mean, even if it's tactical, if it's video sessions, we aren't where we want to be, right? And the commitment that we have to each other, to our fans, it's a non-negotiable that we get better and use this time in a way that's going to move this group forward. And that can only be done with the collective being together, spending time together, believing together. And I think that's what breeds great teams. And so we'll use this time as a mini camp, as you said, because again, if we don't get to the playoffs, then we have 10 weeks. I don't even know how many. We don't have time. We got to really commit to our craft, to our profession. We got a lot of people that we're responsible for, and that weighs.
You have 4 defensive midfielders who played quite a bit. Obviously, with so many suspensions, you played Pablo Ruiz a little out of position tonight. But you let Caliscan go 90 minutes, and he hasn't even been playing that position all season. What does that say about what you saw from him this week and what you saw from him during the first 45 or 60 minutes tonight?
Yeah, no, I think, again, Noel is probably the best communicator that we have in that group, in that three group. He's been playing a more defensive position, obviously as a right back, a stay-at-home right back. And so in this game, I thought it was important to make sure that we had someone that was really dialed into the defensive side of the game and for transitions. So positioning, communication to the players around him, and also really thinking the game from that perspective to allow Mecca to bomb forward and run the half space, which I thought he did a great job. So I think now, moving down the stretch, we have players that have all different types of attributes, and to be able to utilize them for specific games is I think the way we'll go towards the end of the season.
You really spotted Johnny Russell, and tonight you gave him about 60 minutes. That was a pretty long run. How did he play?
I thought he did well. And obviously it's tough when you're not getting a consistent run of games. But I think he, in the first half, he made some plays in the attacking half. There's one cross in particular that he put in. And again, I think that's why we wanted a left footer on the right side, because what they do a really good job of is giving you the line defensively. And when you have a 5 line, it's really hard to get to the end line to get across. And so they have to respect the line because we have a half space runner. And if they do that, then it's a chop and serve. And we wanted to create a lot of chances at the top of the box, and we did that today. And the one thing that was lacking was the decision of what to do next. Is this a shooting opportunity, or do I just stay calm in this moment and find that extra pass, maybe release the weak side wing back to get another great opportunity? So some things that the guys did, the guys executed really well as far as the game plan. And now we just need to fine tune some of these decisions at the top of the box to create better chances from them.
After Johnny had served some in, he played like a no-look ball, I think, with the outside of his left foot and just kind of let it drift to the top of the box for Caliscan, who stopped his run. Is that a case of two guys who haven't played together, not able to read each other?
Absolutely right. And I think that's kind of what we've run into, in particular as of late, with these suspensions and bringing players in. Obviously he's been playing on the right. DeAndre comes, he's playing in the middle. And it's been just kind of start-stop from building that continuity and chemistry that we need to be able to execute. I think that's a great example of getting into really good spots, and then it just kind of not getting more from those moments. So we'll continue to work it. I think the effort from everyone tonight was fantastic. I think they executed really well. The commitment when the ball turned over to repress. I think the one thing that leaves me a bit frustrated is the goals we gave up. And the first goal, I don't know if we can do better on the first header, but then it hits off somebody and goes in. Second one, we give up a foul in a non-dangerous area against a really good set piece team, and then don't handle the set piece well. So if we're just talking about soccer without set pieces, I think the guys were fantastic tonight, but unfortunately that's not the case.
Thanks. DeAndre gets to start tonight, goes a full 90. Thoughts on his debut?
I think it speaks to his experience to be able to come into a group. Cincinnati play completely different, right? They don't play close to the opponent's first line of confrontation. And so in 2 or 3 days, sitting down with the coaches and really understanding how important it is. What I really liked about DeAndre's performance tonight was his desire to drive forward with the ball. Oftentimes when we get it on the rotation, if there's not a real clear pass, we'll end up rotating again. Where he engaged, made a couple really nice passes, centrally that just led to different types of opportunities, whether it was a switch to the weak side or a combination centrally. So I think, given that he just joined us a day and a half ago, he had a fantastic performance and one that he can definitely build on as we move forward.
There's Pablo Mastroeni's post-game. Now, they don't play again for 3 weeks. Next week's game with Seattle was moved because Seattle's got a Leagues Cup game. The week after that's international play. There's a break. So a chance for a mini training camp here and see if RSL can pull it together. Only 7 games left in the season. We're going to take a break. When we come back, David Locke talking hoops. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. David Locke joined us on Friday. Talked a lot of basketball with him. A lot of theories on how things are going to go, how things are going to shape up. From expansion in the league to Jazz decisions on the roster to why guys are paid what they're paid. And, man, the fact that teams now have to hit 90% of the cap, that's the floor, players who don't make a difference between winning and losing are going to get paid. So don't get trapped into those long-term, I guess, is the best thing I can say. You're going to have to pay somebody, but try not to get trapped into it long-term. All right, David Locke talking with us, DJ and PK. Here is the radio voice of the Utah Jazz right here on The Zone. You said something last week that got PK going, and he talked to me about it over the weekend, and we've talked about it a little bit during the show, but we want to get back to you.
I don't even remember talking to PK last week. The only reason I'm doing this is I thought I'd missed like 3 weeks in a row.
No, you were here last week.
You were here last week.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. So you said Markkanen signed a 4-year deal, and you thought the deal he signed with the way things are going in the league now, you didn't think he'd be traded. and you thought he would be on the team the next time the Jazz were in the playoffs. Now, he signed for the next 4 seasons. They've missed the playoffs 3 years in a row. If you're right and he doesn't get traded and he plays all 4 years, he probably would be on the next team, unless you think they're going to go 7 years without making the playoffs. How far away are they? How long will it take? But right now, the Hornets at 9 and the Spurs at 6 are the 2 teams that have gone the longest without playing in the postseason. So, was that your logic there, that he's going to be here all 4 years and that the rebuild is going to bear some fruit in that time span and not going to have some 7-year streak?
I think the logic is multifaceted, and that's part of it, is that if we are going to make the playoffs sometime in the next, we're not making the playoffs this year. We're probably not making the playoffs next year. So then the question is, does it accelerate? Does it happen in year 3 of his deal or year 4 of his deal, or is it that he's going to actually re-sign another deal after that? I still think we're really far away, right? Like, we have the lowest, over-under of any team in the NBA right now. You can't be further away. But when it accelerates, it will be done with Lowry as a part of it. And that's why Lowry is important to keep on the roster right now. If you take Lowry off the roster, you still have to fill the salary slot. You can't just – the day and age of going down to $60 million salary and then just piecing it back together is over because of the new collective bargaining agreement. So you might as well have Lowry on the roster so that when you do try to get better, you have a player. And then the other thing that I do think that Lowry's contract makes it very difficult to trade him. At $40+ million, the way the league's going right now, I don't think your third best player can be $40+ million. I think Lowry's a third player. Because unless you have one of your front players under cost control, which means they're still on the rookie deal. And in the case of the Jazz, if they're going to make the playoffs in the next 3 or 4 years, it's going to be because Ace Bailey or AJ or whoever they draft this year starts to click in, and by year 3 or 4 is ready to go. They're probably your second best player at that point. You've probably signed your best player as a free agent. Lowry's your third best player. Now you're really good and you're ready to go. And that's the route. So I think Lowry is important for the Jazz to have him as a part of their roster so that when they do kick in, you have a piece that's good, and he's really, really good. And part 2, I think the negative for other teams, which is that his salary is now over-slotted for probably a third best player on a team, is not a problem for the Jazz. So you combine those 2 things, and I think Lowry will be on the team next time the Jazz play in the playoffs.
How about also that you just can't get anything close to value, so what's the point of trading him?
Right, and you have to take back salary.
Yeah.
Like, there was a period of time where you could do this and you just saved a bunch of money, but despite what Draymond Green says with his, 2/3 knowledge on most topics he talks about, the fact is, yes, there is a salary issue going on with a hard cap where players are not getting some money and things of that nature, but the bottom of the league is getting more money. And the allocation of money to the players is the exact same as what it was prior. And so, yeah, it's capping certain teams from spending. But the other rule that no one talks about in this new collective bargaining agreement is that you have to be at 90% of the salary cap. That's really new. And, the Jazz, the George Niang deal, I think, is partially the Jazz needed to get to the salary floor. And so what a better way to do it than with maybe the best human being I've ever met in the NBA and have him on your roster and hit the salary floor. And that's what the Jazz, so you have to be at the salary floor now. So if you trade Lowry, you're not doing it and not bringing back $40 million worth of contracts. You have to have those contracts.
Well, there's 30 teams and somebody's got to lose. So there have to be bad teams across whatever the bottom 5, 10, 12, whatever teams. If they have to pay 90%, then there's going to be bad players
trying to create,
get overpaid.
The league's trying to create it that there aren't bad teams.
Well, okay.
That's what the league is trying to create, is that there are not 2 or 3 teams on top that are so dominant because they're spending the way Golden State did for those years, or back in the past, we go back to other teams over the years that just overspent everyone. That doesn't always work, but it does work a little. And they're trying to make sure that there's not a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder a few years ago where literally they decided, we only want to talk about how great all the Thunder things are, but they did a lot of things to really damage the league. One of the things they did was they decided to pay well under the salary floor, and then the way the rule worked it meant that they were like $10 million on the floor and every player on their roster got $1 million. So the league changed the rule. And now if you're under the salary floor, it just goes into a pot that goes to the players. It doesn't go to your players. So they de-incentivized ever being – it actually was to your advantage to be under the salary floor before and all your players' advantage. Now they've changed that, and so every team in the league has to be at 90%. And I think you just will have less terrible teams. You're still going to have as many teams that lose, right?
Yeah, but you're going to have bad teams. Yeah, bad players are going to get overpaid. Or mediocre, not bad, mediocre players are going to get paid like stars.
Yeah, or Joe Ingles is going to get a contract on a year where it just doesn't seem to make sense. Right? Like Joe's kind of done, right? Like he didn't play much last year, and yet he got another year. Well, okay, like because there's some value to that. But I also think that you're just going to have teams, Utah's about as torn down as you can be right now and has Lowry at $40 million. Washington is about as torn down, but they've got Chris Middleton and a few other players that are veteran players that are pretty good. What they're going to do with them, we'll see. But they can put out a pretty viable five.
So what happens as far as playing time, do you think, with guys like Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love? You already mentioned Niang.
So I'll be surprised if we see Kevin Love this year, but maybe not. I mean, maybe that. I'm actually surprised he's still officially on the roster at this point. I would have thought that maybe he would have moved by now, and maybe not. Maybe Kevin Love's at a stage in his career where he did used to either own a house or lived a summer or two in Park City. So maybe he's deciding, like, actually, I want to be here and be a veteran leader. And he's, I don't know, but I didn't expect him to stick around. I think that's the Drew Eubanks, Patty Mills, Sima Luke role of last year. For those guys, which is be ready, be a pro, help our young kids. And, inevitably, Isaiah Collier and Walter Clayton and these guys are going to struggle miserably at some point in the year. And rather than letting their head get bashed in again, you let Kyle Anderson play a little bit and relieve them of the burden. Or, maybe Walter Clayton and Isaiah Collier are really struggling and we're just not even getting into our offense. We're not getting – okay, that's actually – Kyle Anderson's basically a point guard. So you have him come in as a veteran and get people settled. Maybe, Kyle's really struggling and other guys are this, and you bring Kevin Love in to have some semblance of order on the basketball floor. I think, you have to be a little careful of having – it's cute and it's fun, but we all have watched it. When you have 5 kids under the age of 22 or 23 on the floor together – it can get pretty ugly pretty fast, and no one's gaining anything out of that. So those guys can be valuable to hold the order a little bit and to give a semblance of organization.
We're seeing the international basketball tournaments happening now. Markkanen's lighting up Poland and whoever else. And we're seeing
it really seems almost unfair when he kills those guys, doesn't he?
Yeah, they don't have
7-1, 7-1. Like who's the guy from Rocky, Drago or whatever? Like the greatest physical specimen on the planet. Lowry is like seriously a superior physical specimen, and then there's this like 6'4" Polish guard trying to deal with him. Yeah, it seems really almost unfair.
We're seeing Kansas State and Iowa State go to Ireland and play a college football game. We're seeing the NFL go to multiple countries. Is the NBA at some point here going to be opening the season with everybody going and playing a couple games overseas before they come back? I mean, it's an international sport, but the NBA doesn't play foreign games at the rate other sports seem to be.
So it's interesting you bring this up. So I actually talked to Adam about this, Adam Silver, probably now a long time ago, probably 8 years ago, because Adam Silver in his first, maybe even longer, but when he was first taking over as commissioner, he actually came into town, and I finished an interview with him, and he's like, okay, you've been in the league. He's like, I looked you up. You've been in the league for 17 years. What would you do? And of course, I had an answer because you would too, David. And one of the things I said is I would start the entire league overseas in 4-team tournaments. Kind of, I was doing the in-season cup, but I would do, and I'd have the Brazil Cup, and I'd have the Tokyo Cup, and I'd have the London Cup, and and you expand to 32, and you send 8 groups of 4 around the country to do this. And that's how you start the season. And you come back and have an extended training camp, and you compete a little less with football in your season. And he said it's a great idea, but every arena has a lease for 43 home games. And so the leases for these basketball arenas mean that you have to play a certain amount of home games, and that prohibits your ability to take what is 1 or 2 of these home games out of and put them overseas. And so until those leases change, I don't think you can do that. I do think, though, I will take this from an international standpoint. I wonder a little bit whether the stalling on expansion, which was very clear in the last meeting that they were going to look at it, but it was not here comes Seattle and here comes Vegas, is not that the next move, and it's probably 5 years from now, is 4 teams, one in London, one in Barcelona, one in Paris, and one in Berlin. And that's actually the next move. It's a 4-team expansion. Maybe Memphis ends up in Seattle. Maybe some other franchise ends up in Vegas, and you move things around in the States. But that the next major move is a 4-team expansion. I don't quite know how you do the math with 34, but I do think it's very doable. I think that, for example, how you do it travels the first question. The Utah Jazz go off and play a game against Charlotte and Orlando, and then they fly to Europe and they play all 4 teams. And I actually think the entire division of 4 goes over with them at the same time. And so those teams know they have an extended homestand. You go over and play. You probably play Philadelphia on the way back, and then you come to Utah and get 3 or 4 days off. It's a 7-game road trip. It's definitely longer. Maybe you'd reduce the schedule down to 76 at that point in some way, or do something of that sort, which is hard with the arena thing I just talked about. But I think that's the next. I'm not sure that that's off the table for expansion. I keep wondering, there's just not enough of a pro for the owners right now to add Seattle and Vegas. It doesn't do them. It doesn't add TVs. It doesn't add a fandom. It doesn't change the league. It just adds teams. And that's why I think there's a reluctancy to it, and nobody wants to divide $44 billion or whatever whatever that $1 billion TV contract was amongst 2 other teams. So you go add that to that league, and the NBA is already kind of dancing right now with this new European league. I think that's setting the groundwork by which we expand into Europe and be the first professional league to be worldwide.
I think they should open in St. George with 4 teams, and then we could have the Dixie Cup.
Sounds great.
Good answer, David. That was very flat line.
Thanks for contributing today, PK.
All right, I got one more for you. You mentioned AJ, and that's DeBonsa. So obviously they're going to lose and be in the position, and then we'll see how the lottery shapes out, and maybe they get lucky this time instead of whatever. But with the veterans that you mentioned, because that was my prior question, Markkanen being the lead guy, obviously, and then those other guys that are at the tail end, you don't see a situation, even if those guys play, and Markkanen plays 65 games and averages 32 minutes a game, you still don't see a way that would get the Jazz out of the lottery, right? They'd still have some pretty good odds to be able to, or as good odds as you can get, I guess, to have this opportunity to get a kid like DeBonsa. Yeah,
the roster as it's structured right now, for us to win more than 25 games,
no matter what,
would mean that Keontae has to really click in as a bona fide NBA number 2 scorer with efficiency. Would mean that, obviously Walker would have to, I don't think Walker's kind of shown what he is, but he'd have to be an elite defensive force. Lowry would have to have an all-star year, which really, if you look at Lowry's numbers, they've never been the same since Mike Conley left. So I'm not sure that all-star level Lowry, it wasn't a little bit of a Mike Conley creation. Ace Bailey would have to just be way readier than – I expect Ace Bailey to shoot 38% this year and have a terrific year. I think if you go back and look at LeBron, he shot 41%, and Kevin Durant shot 41% as rookies. I don't think you shoot much more than that, as a rookie. And I think Ace will shoot 38%. I just can't – Ace Bailey would have to shoot 45%, average 19 points. Taylor Hendricks would have to become a bona fide defensive force, averaging 15 and 7. I think he could probably do that after the All-Star break. I just can't find a script. The amount of things that have to happen for this roster to be a 30-win team. Maybe Will stun us in some way, and maybe, but I can't put that together in my head. Vegas has us at 18.5 or 17.5. It's the lowest number since the 76ers process team. Vegas doesn't miss by 20 games.
Yeah. And Vegas is real.
Fine. I think that
they're usually spot on. And
I don't mean that negatively.
No, I got you. Yeah.
But this is the point.
Reality.
Is right. I suspect, like I'm being harsh here for a second. Like I suspect there's going to be a moment in time where Isaiah Collier doesn't play in a game. Like that he's shooting 22% from three.
CD?
Yeah, at some point, like, yeah, and Will's like, yeah, you know what, if you don't, like, you're shooting 22% from three, if you don't defend at 75 feet every minute of every day, that you're not going to make it in this league. But the like, there's a little bit of like that they've unleashed or handcuffed Will Hardy to be able to really coach these guys now.
Yes.
Right? Like,
oh yeah.
Like,
and at that press
right?
conference, he could not have embraced that more.
Right. Like,
are you looking forward to very? Very. It was a two-word answer. He said very twice. It was awesome.
Right. And I don't mean that, like, I think Isaiah Collier's terrific. Like, I think he's a wonderful kid, first of all, as a person. Second of all, his desire, his passion, his energy. Like, I think he's got a future in the league. He's got to figure out what it is. But, you know, I can't get over the fact that in Summer League, he ran a pick and roll at 15 feet and they went under.
They do not respect
that's a problem.
him. Yeah.
Like, you can't. If they're going under as a point guard at 15 feet, like, you're going to have a hard route to being an NBA player. That's just the facts. Like, I go back to Will Hardy's comment in a press conference last year at about game 74, where he got asked about, like, he might as well have been asked about whether he thought Pluto was a planet, because it didn't matter what he was asked. And his answer was, you know, there's a bunch of guys starting on this team, and it doesn't mean they're NBA starters. You know, just because you start on this team doesn't mean you're the NBA. Like, he was sending the message really clearly to a bunch of his guys that you're getting time right now, but it does not mean you're NBA established. And that was a very clear message. And these guys, actually, to their credit, have all taken that message, because the amount of time they've spent here, the amount of work, how they've transformed their bodies. I saw Bryce yesterday or 2 days ago. He looks wildly different. Taylor's incredible how much his body has transformed. I hope we can do before and after pictures of Taylor, because it's amazing. So these guys have done all the work. They've shown all the effort. Now it's hard. Now the hard work, like, they've done that. They've done what they can control, which is beautiful. But now it's time against the greatest players in the world to see where you rank up, and it's super hard. And I think we're going to see – I just can't see the amount of – where the conversation started, there's 4 or 5 things that would have to happen for us to suddenly be a 30-win team. It would be a hell of a story. It'd be pretty awesome. And it would mean that Keontae is bona fide, that Taylor is a starter, that Isaiah has figured out how to play point guard, that Ace Bailey is – not 18 somehow, that Walker is still leading the league in offensive rebounds and block shots and a force inside. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of pieces, and Lowry's having an all-star caliber year. Then then maybe you can win 35 games and you're in question of whether you get out of the lottery. But I just, that's a lot of things to come together at one time.
Why did you choose
And I don't
Pluto?
I don't think it's the intention of this season, actually. I think that may be the more important thing. But I don't think that's where the intention of this season isn't to do that. The intention of this season is for Isaiah Collier to be out there guarding Ja Morant and show, okay, how are you going to do it? Because that's what you can – if you're going to be an NBA starting point guard, this is what you got to do. You got to take Ja Morant tonight, and you got to take, whoever the next night. And they're all different, and what's your matchup and how you're handling it. And, how you can be the 15th best point guard in the NBA. Keontae, how are you going to do this? Like, how are you not going to be rated the second worst defensive player in the NBA with only Corey Kispert behind you? What are you going to do? Like, that's what this year's about.
What's amazing to me is that Collier at one point was viewed as the number 1 recruit in the country. He can't shoot. How do you get that status?
I do think if you go back, this is actually worthwhile to do in the next segment because it's pretty interesting. If you go to Basketball Reference and go back, so if you go to Basketball Reference, Isaiah Collier shows you number 1 recruit and go click on the rank of those players, it's pretty clear that because of COVID, nobody could rank players that year.
Oh.
I think the top 10 players, DJ, if you can pull it up really fast.
Yeah, he knows to go to you.
Go Basketball Reference, Isaiah Collier, and click on the rank. I believe of the top 10 players in that high school class, only one of them or 2 of them are in the NBA, and I'm not sure either of them become NBA.
Okay, I'm on Isaiah's page, but I don't know where to go to click on the rank.
So see where it says under his bio. See under it says his bio, it says high school rank, and it's got 1.
Yeah, you see it's right there.
His height, weight, rank.
Nope.
Yeah.
There's no rank.
No, it's right there.
Stop it.
Okay. I'll send you a link, old man.
I got his Instagram, but I don't have his.
Okay, I'll send you a link.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, see? I knew he could do it.
There it is. Got it. No, they had to fold it in. You didn't hit me. You didn't hit me hit the drop down button.
Dixie cups.
So here it is. Ron Holland 2.
Okay.
Justin Edwards 3.
undrafted free agent on Philadelphia right now. We'll see if he makes it.
Aaron Bradshaw, 4.
Not in the league.
Cody Williams, 5.
Okay, we'll see.
DJ Wagner Jr., 6.
Not in the league.
Modest Buzelis, 7.
Probably the highest prospect right now, but we'll see.
Jacoby Walter, 8.
Yeah.
Stephen Castle, 9.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Mbako,
Yeah, right.
10.
Yeah, keep going. Like, right? And then the next group is, like, I mean, there's clearly some COVID scouting going on in that year.
Okay, there it is.
Whew. That was close, man. If
you can take the reading glasses off now.
If you hadn't figured it out, that would have been bad.
Actually, the show's streamed. People can see I have no glasses on right now.
Oh,
everyone
okay.
And I have no clothes on right now.
Look at you.
No.
And I wonder the numbers are what they are.
Very, very low. Low.
And I still want to know, why did you choose Pluto
are you blurry?
And not
By
Uranus?
The way, are you blurry? Do they make you blurry on the stream video?
Blur out PK.
No, they just use Dixie cups.
Okay, great. Super.
Come on, that was good.
Why do you do
People can see me smiling on camera.
Why do you do this?
It's not a belly laugh good, but it's good.
What your reaction was.
Did I mention that I love doing this every Friday, or did I say that I abhor it?
A little bit of both, probably, like everybody else. It's just kind of the show. I got news for you. It's not just Friday, David.
Really?
No.
I thought it was only. I moved out of the 8 o'clock slot to 8:30, thinking it would change things.
Oh, you ought to be here at 9 o'clock. Yak, tell them about the 9 o'clock hour.
Man.
That's when PK really cuts loose.
Oh dear.
All right, David, we'll talk to you again.
I don't want anyone blurry with Dixie cups cutting loose.
Talk to you again in a week, David. You're the man.
See you, bye.
That's you, bye. There's David Locke talking hoops. A reminder to join Hans and Scotty G Wednesday from noon to 3 at My Hearing Centers, 8941 South, 700 East in Sandy. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. What is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update. News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL.
Obviously, I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but, I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
Browns coach Kevin Stefanski on his philosophy with the QBs. The Browns releasing the former Ute Tyler Huntley, keeping 4 quarterbacks, including the rookies Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Joe Flacco's been announced as the starter. Kenny Pickett's in there too. It's unusual. One more quarterback than most teams keep.
I'm done.
You're done? You're done with the Browns and headed for 3rd or 4th place in the AFC North.
If you want to talk about the Browns, that's your call. But I'm not going to talk about a team and their quarterbacks and all the stuff that goes into it. And oh my gosh, they put him out there with 4 offensive linemen that they waived. They're purposely trying to undermine him. We need a congressional investigation. I'm just done with it.
Yeah, they're keeping him. They're not undermining him. Will Huntley end up with the Raiders? Looks like they need a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell fracturing his right wrist. Expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks. And former BYU star Jacob Robinson breaking his forearm. Both those players going to probably land on the IR, which now you can be on the IR for half the season. So we could see them at some point, maybe sometime around November. Another thing PK's dying to talk about, the Dallas Cowboys still awaiting resolution of the Micah Parsons situation. But they intend to release offensive tackle La'el Collins. He previously had started 71 games at left guard and right tackle. Tampa Bay Buccaneers released safety Shiloh Sanders as part of their roster cut down today after he was ejected for throwing a punch at a Bills receiver in the preseason finale. Everybody's got to make their cuts by Tuesday. Be down to 53-man rosters. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Play fake. Avery rolls left, throws that way, has a man out there, and it's Bradley down the sideline. He's at the 20, 10-5, Wildcat touchdown. No flags on the play. Oh my! Avery Johnson to Jaron Bradley. Unbelievable play.
And Bechtel alone in an empty backfield. 4 tight ends flanked wide. And Becht will run it. Roskopf gave him a block. Touchdown! Rocco Becht! What a great play call by Taylor Mauser.
Iowa State beats Kansas State 24-21. PK, biggest moments of this game, the people who impressed you, or the groups of players who impressed you, or the groups of players or people who horrified you?
I think the biggest moments are always when you score touchdowns.
Iowa State's defense, not exactly the secondary, not exactly covered itself in glory, letting 2 guys get loose deep in the fourth quarter of a game in which they led. Oops.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Kansas State, they've got players. Obviously the field conditions were sloppy early on. The play was sloppy, but they got better as the game went on. Both teams offensively got better. You listen to the coaches talking about adjustments made at halftime, those types of things. So I thought it was an exciting game with an exciting ending to it. It was close. If I'm Kansas State, I'm disappointed, obviously, but nothing as far as what they need to accomplish is lost, especially since you only need to finish in second place. 2 good teams that I think are going to be factors to be reckoned with each and every week as they begin conference play in earnest in 2 or 3 weeks, and away we go. I picked Iowa State to be in the conference title game. Nothing has changed my mind there. So, yeah, I thought overall it was a good experience listening to stuff that was broadcast about on the radio and television, asking the Irish people what they knew about college football. It was funny, and what a trip to be able to do that for the youngsters, the band, and all the other auxiliary people who get to go as being part of it. Overall, I thought it was a success, and Kansas State, someone had to lose, but there's still plenty of time for them to be a significant factor, and I think they will.
The other Big 12 team playing was Kansas, and they rolled past Fresno State 31-7. It was 24-7.5. They got that last touchdown midway through the third quarter. Sometimes you see that 31-7 score, and the game was tight for a long time, and they blow it open the fourth, but that was not the case here. Kansas was in charge in that game, scoring on their first 2 possessions, and never headed.
No, I expected that. I think that that quarterback, if he's healthy, is very, very good. Kansas is an improving team. Adds to the excitement of the conference in terms of who's going to win it, what are you going to get each and every Saturday. I love the each and every. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens there. A lot of intrigue. Just makes the whole thing fun trying to predict because so many things can happen. It can go down several different roads.
Hawaii beat Stanford 23-20. BYU's second game, of course, is against Stanford. Stanford's quarterback Ben Gilbranson really struggled, 15 of 30 for 109 yards. And Hawaii, with the field goal as time runs out, actually a couple of fourth quarter field goals, put them in front and give them the 23-20 win. You watch much of that game?
No.
UNLV in the Mountain West had a great year last year, struggled to beat Idaho State, needed 2 fourth quarter touchdowns. They beat Idaho State 38-31 in Dan Mullen's Vegas debut. And Portland State got blown out 42-0 by Tarleton State, so we had to see something very lopsided from the get-go at LaVell Edwards Stadium next week.
I didn't need Portland State to play.
To confirm that?
Yeah.
Michigan Wolverines set today freshman Bryce Underwood as their starting quarterback. The former top overall prospect will quarterback Michigan when they face New Mexico Saturday in the season opener. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Pitch coming. Ohtani. It's a rocket to right field, way back there, and way gone. The Dodgers with their 4th home run of this Sunday afternoon in the 45th of the season for the reigning MVP. It's now 8-2.
2-1. pitch to Jazz. Swung on deep drive. Right field. It's hit hard. Going. Goodbye. Jazz Chisholm, everybody, with a home run tonight. His second 2-run shot. It's 7-5 Yankees.
And now here's Cal Raleigh, fresh from setting the major league record. Tying it, swinging a drive, deep to left field. More history. Goodbye, baseball. Cal Raleigh with his historic 49th home run of the year. Cal has hit more home runs than any catcher in the history of the game of baseball. And he does it right away on August the 24th on a Sunday afternoon here at T-Mobile. Home run number 49 on the year.
Mariners go on to beat the Athletics 11-4. I think if I'd been sitting there in the crowd watching him homer in the first and second, I'd have started thinking about 4 home runs in the game. But he ended up 3 for 5. Mariners get the W, and he passes Salvador Perez. Up next, number 50. Think he'll get to 60?
No.
Yeah. 11 homers down the stretch would be a lot to ask. He's got about 30 games or so left. Dodgers, you heard them hit 4 home runs. Shohei Ohtani, his 45th home run. They beat the Padres 8-2. They avoid the sweep. Those two teams are tied for the top spot in the National League West.
Yeah, they were talking about it, obviously, on the radio. And going forward, the Padres have not just the easier schedule of the two. They've literally got the easiest schedule in the entire major leagues the rest of the way. They play the Colorado Rockies 7 times, for what it's worth. As far as that goes, both teams will be in the postseason, and that's all that matters. I mean, if you're the Dodgers, you take beating them 4 out of 6 anytime. If you should get in a 7-game series, Padres, very few teams in the bottom 5 in home runs win the World Series. I've been comparing them to the Giants. The last team to do that,
Giants.
2012. I told you, it's about the pitching and timely hitting. Now, the Padre lineup is much better than the Giants had, offensively speaking, but it's all about the pitching anyway. 90% of it, and then timely hitting, and away you go. So we shall see. I think they've got as good a chance as anyone, but it's baseball, and as good a chance as anyone literally means nothing.
Yeah, it means it's pretty wide open.
Well, baseball is always wide open. So
Dodgers hit 4 homers off that pitching yesterday, and they nearly hit 5. There's a potential grand slam that was caught and was above the wall out there in center field. It was a sac fly in the first inning.
And my guy, Bob Nightingale, who I know you like to read scores, but I've got other stuff here.
Tell me about Bob Nightingale.
In his USA Today column.
Did he talk expansion?
Well, he talked about the realignment since Manford mentioned it at the Little League game. What was it, last week? And what will come of it. But he did mention expansion. He said expansion, quote, is still scheduled to take place in 2031 or 2032. Manford tells owners, with Salt Lake City and Nashville as the 2 heavy favorites. Not just favorites, but heavy favorites.
I'd be interested in this because they keep saying, team in the East, team in the West, and the favorites, and now heavy favorites. There's already 8 teams in the Pacific and Mountain time zones. Why do they need a 9th team? I assume Colorado's going with somebody in the Central time zone then?
Well, they would be in the Southwest Division with the Texas. There's only 1 team in the Mountain time zone.
Yeah, yes. But there's 8 in the 2, and I thought they could just be 4 team divisions, and that would be it. But apparently not, which works out for all the baseball fans here.
Well, if they added, then there would be 2 in the Mountain Division, or the Mountain time zone. Who really cares at that point? As long as you got a team, does it really matter what division you're in?
When you don't have a team and you're offered a team, you can just roll with whatever it is.
That didn't even register with me. I mean, I couldn't care less about that. It makes no difference.
Bees were up 7-2. They lose to Reno 10-8 in the series finale. They're going to Round Rock tomorrow. And Taiwan beats Nevada in the Little League World Series championship game. DJ and PK.
#RSL.
We want to get to the playoffs. There's no time to take time away. I mean, even if it's tactical, if it's video sessions, we aren't where we want to be. And the commitment that we have to each other, to our fans, it's a non-negotiable that we get better and use this time in a way that's going to move this group forward. And that can only be done with the collective being together, spending time together, believing together. And I think that's what breeds great teams. And so we'll use this as a mini camp because, again, if we don't get to the playoffs, then we have 10 weeks. I don't even know. We don't have time. We got to really commit to our craft, to our profession. We got a lot of people that we're responsible for in that ways.
That's Pablo Mastroeni after RSL gets beat decisively by Minnesota 3-1. They've got 3 weeks now before their next game, so it'll be a mini training camp to try to incorporate the new players, 3 relatively new starters here. I guess combined now they have 6 starts, the 3 of them. RSL beaten, and that whole thing Pablo was talking about a week ago about he didn't see the belief, the lack of belief on full display. They came out at the start of the game and made a big mistake and gave up an own goal, and came out in the start of the second half and quickly made another big mistake and gave up another goal and ended up losing 3-1. Victor Olatunji does look really good, and he scored the 1 goal and created some other really good chances, but they're going to need more. They see how far they are away from the top of the league with a 3-1 loss to Minnesota. DJ and PK.
Hashtag golf.
Tommy Fleetwood gets win number 1 on the PGA Tour. He had over $30 million in winnings without a win. Now he's over $40 million with a $10 million payday at the Tour Championship. And PK, there were shades of his previous collapses when he blew a 2-shot lead with 3 to go and a 2-shot lead with 4 to go earlier this year. He was up 3 and went down to 1, but big birdies for him at 12 and 13. He righted the ship and ended up winning comfortably by 3 shots.
He's been a very good golfer for a number of years. He last won the Dubai, which was last year, and then obviously that he'd been near reaching the winner's circle in several tournaments, and he gets it. And with that in mind, his winning ways have returned. I guess you could say Fleetwood back.
There it is. Golf clap from
but not
Yak
a standing O.
Not standing. That was good, though.
And he celebrated. I mean, he's the one guy on the tour that can say, hey, I'm going to celebrate with my old lady.
See, there you go.
Because his wife is 23 years older. Reminds me of my father-in-law. It was the other way. Oh, yeah. He had a younger, his second wife, not my mother-in-law. My stepmother-in-law, I guess, who's only 6 years older than me. And then when he passes, if you get that with a big age gap in terms of inheritance, it really sucks.
She's keeping everything. She doesn't even know who you are anymore.
Despite my weekly emails.
Working on a restraining order over there, are you?
No. She likes me. I was her favorite stepson-in-law.
Her only stepson-in-law?
She grew up in San Pedro, California, went to all the schools. That's how we ended up there, in that particular town. Still lives there.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports National College Football writer, will join us. Kevin Clark, host of This is Football on ESPN, will be here at 9:30. More football on the way. The question of the day is next. Stay with us.
Hut, 20 team, hike, 20. It's game week for the Cougars. And the Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. The Cougars open the season at home at LaBelle Edwards Stadium as they welcome in Portland State. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Cougar football and your chance to win tickets to the game. Then catch college football Saturday. Game day at 10 a.m. with a postgame show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app.
Yeah, boy.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, win tickets to The Offspring in the Supercharged Worldwide in 25 Tour. September 6th, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Don't miss The Offspring with special guest Jimmy World and Newfound Glory. Get your tickets now at LiveNation.com. BYUSports.com. Listen to the Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win.
I always wonder if Jimmy Eat World would bite off more than it can chew. Like maybe start with Jimmy Eat State, like Rhode Island or something. Go right to the world. That's a lot.
Question of the morning. Week 0 is in the books. Iowa State beat Kansas State. Did watching this game give you confidence BYU and Utah can win the Big 12 championship?
Uh-huh.
Carter, this game doesn't have any impact on if Utah or BYU makes it to Arlington. The better team will go. Simple as that.
Oh, I disagree, man. You're looking at your competition. Your competition determines. I don't have to be fast. If I'm being chased by a bear, I just got to be faster than the other guy.
Now that you've seen Iowa State and Kansas State, do you think that you can beat them?
Yes.
That's the
point.
question, right?
So who said that?
That was Carter John G.
Well, Carter John G., I am going to delete that and ban you from our Facebook page because that is stupid. And now that we're into the season, I'm not going to tolerate stupidity.
You want to ban Daniel, too, because Daniel says Iowa State was expected to win. They made it to the Big 12 title game last year. All the win does is show that one Big 12 team can beat another Big 12 team.
Well, then we would never even bother to pay attention because every single game in conference shows that.
Brian, this had nothing to do with BYU or Utah. Jason, has nothing to do with the Utah or BYU winning anything.
That is simply untrue. And I am just appalled at the ignorance of our Facebook posters.
Joshua did watch it. He said that game was awful for almost 45 minutes. Teams finally got warmed up in the fourth quarter.
I think the setting, going to Ireland, and they weren't there that long, just a couple of days. It wasn't treated as a bowl game by any stretch. Probably it shouldn't be. That's what I'm saying. It's cool for the auxiliaries, the band, and all these other people. They can just practice a little routine, and away you go. They get to experience everything.
Go do a little sightseeing.
Yeah.
But the team's grinding for the opener.
Right.
So much at stake.
And, it was raining, as it often does. They said they get 150 days of rain in Ireland, and we know when we see pictures of green all everywhere, and that's
How does
Irish
that happen?
we associate with green, and so obviously it has to rain a lot. And I grew up in the Northeast, and that's where no one had sprinklers because of the rain. The rain takes care. The sprinkler thing was out west here, where you get, like in Arizona, Phoenix, 6 inches of rain. 4 of that comes in the summer with the monsoons, and it was raining, and all the fireworks. It was smoky. It's like I couldn't see on my television. I mean, you got the big screen TV, so that was a little bit better for you, unlike myself.
Just more smoke.
Well, I wouldn't know. You've got the.
I'm here for all the smoke.
Right. What did he say, Yuck?
I got a big TV.
Yeah. Yes. So presumptuous, but that's who you are, and you were blessed with an abundance.
Well, and
so
said smoke apparently may have injured Dylan Edwards because he couldn't fill that punt cleanly.
Yeah. Dylan Edwards couldn't fill the punt cleanly. Now, it was a turnover right back, so it didn't matter. But you got that going on, and they settled down. I think they're 2 very good teams, capable of literally beating anyone in this conference, for sure. And if I'm BYU Utah, that's exactly the kind of game I wanted. I didn't want a dominant game. Somebody to start thinking, hey, we're way better. Man, we are the cat's meow. We are all that. No, you don't want anybody getting ahead of themselves. So you've got that going on there. But I think it plays well into what BYU and Utah are trying to accomplish this year. Being able to be strong on defense and having enough offense to get the job done. It's much like, as I look at these teams, like I've said for decades in baseball, give me good pitching. I have to have good pitching. I have to have good defense. And then I have to have opportunistic offense. And if I can get that, of the 3 things that you need, I'm probably taking the other 2 over a prolific offense, because I think against the best teams it's awfully hard to just simply outscore them. Now, there's going to be a game that might be 45-43. I understand that, but that could be the outlier. Give me the great defense and go from there. And I'm interested to see how these offenses, both BYU and Utah, develop over the course of the season. Whatever you have in this case, they'll play one game in August, but we'll just go the first month being September. You want to be better in November, and I think you're going to have to be. But I didn't see anything that makes me think they can't compete, and that's exciting.
Good but not great football. Do you think it was that opportunistic? I thought it was mostly drives. K-State
Well, in the
a couple
second
of big
half,
plays.
I think they got it together.
Yeah, K-State hit on a couple of big
You always
pass
need
plays.
big plays. It's very difficult, as we've heard many times over, to put together a 9-minute, 12-play drive. You need big plays. BYU last year had a number of big plays. Utah didn't have any, it seems. And if they had them, it was an interception return or something. BYU not only had big plays on offense, they had big plays on special teams. Their offense was not prolific last year, but you can argue that it was opportunistic, and they made some big plays.
Iowa State did benefit from the short fields, and they capitalized when they got
Well, they
it.
had the fourth down stop.
That gave them a short field.
And that was a big deal right there. So, but Avery Johnson is a dynamic quarterback, and I'm disappointed if you're a Kansas State fan. Of course you are. There's no doubt about it. You want to win every game, and anytime you lose, you're disappointed. That's natural. But I wouldn't be dismayed about the level of competence in the offense and his ability and their chances for contending. Not at all. Whatsoever. Zero.
K-State look a little bit like Utah's offense. Quarterback can run it. The RPO stuff gave him some throws. Their tight ends and 3 different tight ends caught the ball in that game.
Yeah, tight ends on both sides looked good, and they'll develop them more going forward. Utah's offense, I'm not sure. I haven't seen them. I mean, if he, speaking of Dampier, recreates what he did with the Lobos, then absolutely yes. But it remains to be seen. I mean, they can have the greatest offensive line in the history of offensive lines, but nobody in that backfield has run for 1 yard behind this offensive line yet. Not 1 yard. So I want to take a little bit of a cautious approach. I can come on here and be a blowhard and say it's going to be the greatest thing because blah, blah, blah. You love to talk about their greatest offensive line. You mention it every chance you get. But that offensive line has not blocked one play for Dampier when it matters. So, and that's not to say that they can't do it, but I still want to take a little bit of a let's see approach and then go from there. And then when we get to Texas Tech in 4 weeks, what they did the prior 3, it's not really going to hold a lot of credence with me because you're going to have to do it in the conference. And given the nature of this conference being so competitive, you're going to have to do it every week, most likely. Do I think they can? Sure, but I want to see. I mean, all we got now is talk. That's it. There's no track record of this offense at Utah doing anything. Jason Beck has not called one play for the University of Utah. I mean, up and down. It's completely brand new, which leads to the level of intrigue and excitement. Absolutely it does. And that's why we're all anticipating something. Is it going to be spectacular? Is it going to be good enough? Is it going to be disappointing? I mean, pick your level of anticipation where you want to go.
Tyson, he is trying to control his level of anticipation. He says, neither team looked great in my opinion, but I hesitate to draw too many conclusions with the weather being as bad as it was and the field being pretty awful.
Early, but later I thought that changed.
A lot of plays made in the fourth quarter.
And the offenses looked pretty doggone good.
Big plays and drives, both.
Yes. Right. And that's why I believe K-State with Avery Johnson going into his second full year as a starter, certainly any given game can be dangerous. I happen to think almost every game, if not every game, that team will be dangerous.
Chris says, book the return trip to Pasadena for New Year's Day. #Go Utes.
Yeah, I don't think they go there, but, I get his point. He's excited about what they can do. And the possibility is there. That is for sure. There's never been a single player in the history of Utah football coming in who's created this much excitement than Devin Dampier. Go ahead. Name me one. You can't. Nothing matches it in the history.
Of
Utah.
Sell it.
Yeah. With complete and total apologies and respect to Lee Grosscup.
Okay. Nice.
Yes.
Shout out the legend.
Yes. But there's never been one player who has yet to play a play bring this much level because it's largely based on him. It's like 90%.
In the time we've been here, not only is he the biggest deal, who would even come close?
Who would even come close? That's where you come in. Because you like that stuff. That's why I keep throwing this stuff out there. Because then you love to be in the past. And then you go through all. I couldn't have any idea. I have no clue.
The person who maybe came close, but you and I weren't here for it, and it was such a different era in the media and everything, would be Scott Mitchell, because he was a really talented local quarterback in an era when BYU was getting all the quarterbacks. The Utes got him. There must have been a lot of excitement about that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to trust you on that one.
U-State Iceman, who does not have a dog in the Big 12 fight, says Big 12 squads quit slacking. Strap on the boots and grind, or you're toast in this conference.
Quit what?
Quit slacking.
Who's slacking?
Big 12 squads. Quit slacking. I think that's more a warning than I doubt there's any information on this squad.
In order to quit something, that means you have started something.
Right.
And I don't think they've started anything in terms of slacking.
I think this more goes to thought it was a good competitive league. Two teams were supposed to be good and competing with everyone. Went out and competed with each other. The league is going to be a lot like it was last year.
If you do quit, you're going to get run over.
Yes, you will.
So it's more in the future, not in the present tense. Being the grammatarian that I am.
That kid, grammatarian.
Yes. Right. And that stems from my grandma. She was a Tarian, therefore she was a grammatarian. So I don't think anybody. I think even the bottom, whoever ends up being the bottom, they may not be consistently a tough out, but on a given Saturday, they can be a tough out. I really believe that. When you look at a conference, I look at a conference as a batting order. You know, if your top 2 or 3 guys in the batting order are not good, then you suck. Everybody should have that. But the quality of a conference is determined by your 6, 7, 8, and now with the DH, 9 hitters.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got tough outs at that level,
then you got something.
Yeah. And that's what I think the Big 12 has. And I know they're going to, they don't have the top heavy, blah, 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 blah. That remains to be seen. It's a fallback commentary that is safe, because you look at these programs and, what are there, 16, and none of the 16 has consistently for a 30, 40, 50-year period been a top blue blood program. So it's easy to say, oh, yeah, they got some good teams. What that tells me is you really don't know about the teams. So you just go back and you say, they've got some good teams, but... Whereas if you knew, you would start pointing out, well, this group has these guys, this group has these guys, but they don't really know them, so they just kind of dip their toe in the water with a safe comment. But to me, if you're going to talk about a quality conference, the Big 12 has to be right in the discussion with anybody because we're talking about a conference. We're not talking about Ohio State and whoever is the second flavor now. Oregon is since they're in it, and then maybe a Penn State or Michigan, blah, blah, blah. Sure, those teams, yeah, absolutely have been top-heavy, no doubt about it. But once you entertain the word conference, then I think the Big 12 deserves as much consideration as anybody.
Will it be as even as it was last year? Because that's the depth you're talking about. You get down to team 6, 7, you're still sitting there with 8 and 9 win teams that were a game out of first place.
And what was wrong with that? Why is that bad?
Because it only gets you one team in the playoff.
That's
the beauty
a committee.
And the beauty
that's
pageant,
not talent.
You will get judged poorly by the beauty pageant.
But yet the team that went right to the end with a national brand. And the team that went right to the end with a national brand was pushed to the limit by multiple teams. Looking at you, Kansas, looking at you, BYU. Go back and look at their scores. There were 6 games, I think, were one-score games.
If you want
actually 7 and 8 if you count the 2 losses.
If you want to do that whole comparative score thing, the whole league was close to ASU. Then ASU was close to Texas. And Texas was close to Ohio State, who won it all.
Right.
Now,
so the ham bone is connected to the elbow. I mean, we've got the whole body of work right there. That's what they need to pump. That's what your Mark and his guys, that's what they need to talk about because there wasn't much difference. The best that got in by virtue of winning the game in Arlington gets the automatic bid, and then they play a national brand. That was a controversial non-call right at the end. So somehow, if it's at the end, it's far more controversial than it was in the first quarter. But that's the way we are as sports fans, and it was decided by a play. Well, basically, BYU and ASU was decided by a play. So you could argue that there was 3 or 4 teams that could have done and possibly made that play in that Peach Bowl. Yeah, that's what they need to pump up.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The artist of the day is Bruce Springsteen. His legendary Born to Run album debuted 50 years ago today. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts events in 2025, check out livenation.com.
Sprung from cages on Highway 9, chrome, you feeling checked out, stepping out over the line. Oh! Oh, man, Jersey, it ripped the bones right from my back. When I came to Phoenix in the desert, I was boneless in the back.
Sounds painful.
Yeah, I mean, come on. The streets of Jersey, the swamps. Oh, man. Oh, it's tough, let me tell you.
How many times has he sung those lyrics? In 50 years.
Enough to buy mansions in various places.
Well, that's true. We're seeing new records, said PK. Remember when there used to be quarterbacks and then transfer quarterbacks? And then we saw people. We saw players, QBs going to 3 schools in 5 years. And we thought, that is crazy. And then it became routine. But now Kentucky has topped it all. They have named Zach Calzada their starting quarterback. He is a 7th-year senior playing for his 4th school.
I think we got to get away with 7th-year seniors.
3 years at Texas A&M, 1 at Auburn, where he never played, 2 at Incarnate Word, and now he's at Kentucky. 4 schools in 7 years. That's your traditional college
That's
experience.
A Declaration of Independence or something, isn't it?
A little bit. He's going to have a lot of college reunions to go to. Get the guys together.
Actually, he'll be a man from nowhere.
That's the truth.
When
right
you
there.
do all those transfers. The one position that I get it is quarterback. You know, in the end, I guess maybe it's a little different now. I was going to say in the end, what you take are relationships. You know, when this thing is done for me, I'm not going to remember what I'm going to remember who. Corso is going to be celebrated this week, right?
Yes.
He's going out.
90 years old, doing his last show.
And so I was looking at some stuff about him, and they had the thing where they went on the screen, and he was sitting in a theater. It was about 6 minutes long, and it was so touching. I mean, if you're that guy, I don't know how you're not sobbing on various levels. But what is he going to be remembered for?
He's going to be remembered for putting on the headgear, and he's going to be remembered for the crowd going nuts. Either they're like, yeah, he picked us!
Right.
Or, boo, you bum!
Not one single analysis as an ex-coach is anybody going to remember.
I'll remember one, but I'm just bitter.
Well, he picked against your team or something. I mean, and he picked hundreds for or against. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be remembered for the headgear and the fun and the fun/silliness, which is fun in a lot of ways. And so you wonder, as these kids transfer all over the place, will they bring with them the relationships? Because that's what's going to matter in the long term. But you've got a couple things working now in today's world, one being money, and then for the quarterbacks, because it is such a position that only one guy plays, do they need to bounce around because you only get a finite amount of time? So is it more understandable for the quarterbacks? The Saturday's practice, I was listening to Dillingham yesterday when they put the stuff online, and they were asking him about somebody in the defensive backfield who's going to start. And he says, it doesn't matter. They're all going to play. The only positions where I think starting is a big deal is center and quarterback. And because of that, does the quarterback, like Bachmeier's brother Hank, went to 3 different schools, right? We've seen that. That's not that unusual. But they're trying to find a place, particularly the highly rated quarterback who has been told as an Elite 11 and is big man on campus, everything is you're great, blah, 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 blah. The dream is bitter when it dies. It is the most bitter, I believe, of any position because you're the glamour spot. And the family gets involved. I've seen parents at BYU, multiple sets of parents, strut around because they thought he was going to be something. I know of a quarterback here locally at a high school level whose pops strutted around like crazy. He goes to a Division I, and it doesn't work. He literally has massive mental health issues, massive, and I don't want to get into it any more than that. And my 2-bit psychology analysis as well, they thought he was going to be all that. And when it dies, it is so difficult to accept, so they end up chasing the dream from Auburn to Incarnate Word, and he must have done well at Incarnate Word. Yeah. That's old Cam Ward's school down in Texas. And then he bumps back up to
the SEC again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we sit back and think, oh, well, that's crazy. But put yourself in those shoes and the nature of the position where one guy plays and then you have to hope for ineffectiveness. You really don't want to hope for injury.
Yeah. That's an excellent point about that your coach at ASU makes about the guys rotate through. The O-line, those 5 don't tend to get rotated occasionally. But the thing is on the O-line, like if you're not the best left tackle, well, then they move you to right tackle or left guard. So you got to be one of the best 5 to get out there.
Right, but you got multiple opportunities.
To get out there. Now, if you're not, if you're 6th or 7th, then you're sitting there waiting for an injury, which may well come.
Yeah, and usually you're a sophomore.
Yeah, that could be too.
So your time is going to come if you're in the 2 deep. Your time will come.
But a quarterback it's so fickle.
Right.
Like some guys get buried and never get a shot, and they're behind some Iron Man, and then somebody else is sitting there like, I'm 3rd string, I'm not even practicing. And like 6 weeks into the season, they're the starter. It's like there'll be plenty of teams that go 3 deep with quarterbacks this year.
So
The
they
Utes went
bounce
4
around,
deep last
and
year.
I get it. I get what they're trying to do because they're trying to play. And then if you're not as good, if you're not a world beater, well, maybe you can just find a way on an NFL roster or a practice squad, and you can bounce around. I mean, you look at Ty Detmer, was in the league 14 years or so.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool.
A full-time starter for, I think, one of those years.
Who cares?
1 year in Philly, he was a full-time starter, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he wanted to be, but now that it's long since been done, what memories and relationships, not to mention the money, that he was able to accrue.
Tons of them.
Yeah.
He's got to have a
He
ton
tells
of...
Brett Favre stories all the time. And yeah, that's pretty awesome.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. So you got something you got to say, huh? You got
Something that Matt Campbell said after the game yesterday or Saturday that I think is crucially important.
Iowa State head coach. All right, we'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and the great folks at Beehive Meals.
All right, lessons, statements, things you'd like to underline and put an exclamation point after.
I made sure I listened to what Matt Campbell had to say after the game. A coach has my utmost respect. Not that he cares or even knows me, but when I've talked to him, he's going to I'm a faceless person in a crowd to him, as I am to everybody.
Not true.
My dog, he recognizes me.
That's true.
He wants to play chicken with me. And one of the things he said that really stuck out to me is that we've got our staff together. So essentially, we are built to win and built to win now because we don't have a lot of changes in our program. And if you have your staff together, I think that's critical. We know historically, Lavelle Edwards, those guys didn't go anywhere. In fact, when Norm Chow left, it was like the biggest, most controversial news ever. Someone left BYU's coaching staff.
It was actually a very big deal.
You know, they do it all over the place, right?
What happened? There was an argument at the other end of the bench from where you were standing.
Yeah, it's a big
because those
deal.
guys had never argued before.
Right. Yes.
Just in public one time.
It's funny that was such a big deal.
Huge.
And Campbell saying that makes me think, yeah. And you look at BYU, the staff literally has stayed together. Not just the known guys, the secondary guys who are still coaching, the Gary Andersons of the world, been there for 3 years now. And Jay Hill talking about, I need to get up to speed with the personnel when he first got the job. Well, now he's way up to speed. He's as up to speed as he can possibly be. He knows everybody's weaknesses and strengths up and down, inside out. And I think that's extremely important for your team's success if you can have that. Now, we understand that coaches are going to move. They're going to get higher paying jobs. They're going to view things as an opportunity that's better at school X. Or they're going to get promoted, move up from position to coordinator to head coach, whatever it might be. So you're not going to have that all the time. But when you do have it, it is important. And Campbell was talking about Iowa State has it. And that's why, among other reasons, they're going to be a force the entire time, all the way through November. They are going to be a force, I believe. And I think that's important. And you look at BYU's got it. Looking at Utah, when is the last time a defensive coach has been fired? Because the leader has fired offensive guys many times over. Now, once you have one guy
Morgan
leave.
was there a long time. Kalani left on his own. Then before that, it's Kyle who got promoted. Before that, it's his dad who I think left for the NFL. But now I'm getting fuzzy. So
They brought in, there must have been a cornerbacks coach had to have left because, was it Jay Hill going to Weber? Because then they brought in Sharif, who was a lawyer.
Yeah, they might have let a position coach go, But I can't remember. And over 30 years, are you going to find one or two?
No, I'm just thinking when he's a head coach.
It doesn't happen very often.
And
the defensive coordinators don't get fired, and the position coaches, if they do, it's
Justin
very
Anna
rare.
left to go be the defensive coordinator at Utah State, and then they brought in Swan to do his thing. Sione Poha left to retired from, but really only a year, and then he went to BYU, and then they
But the Sharif opening might have been Jay Hill going to Weber State.
Luther Ellis.
Yeah.
Because Lewis Powell's been there for a number of years. And when I ask anyone who has any degree of interest in college football, what's the strength of Utah's program?
The consistency.
Where?
Oh, on the coaching staff. Well, I mean, obviously it starts with a head coach. His philosophy doesn't change, and he doesn't change. He's been there 2 decades. And, quote, unquote, his guys, they don't tend to change very often. They do on the offensive side, but not on D.
And which
and the strength
side
of the ball
of the...
And the strength of the ball is the defense, yeah.
Right. But on the offensive side...
There has been change.
I would say it was darn near constant change.
It was fairly stable under Andy. I mean, if you get a coordinator
fairly stable, you're right.
Has a 4 or 5 year run, that's pretty good right there. Now it's not incredibly stable because that's defense, and that's what you're seeing on that side of the ball.
Right.
But if you do have an OC who comes in and gives you 4 or 5 years, and I think to the point that
what
Campbell's
did they accomplish
making,
those 4 or 5 years?
Well, the first time Andy was here, they start over with almost a complete rebuild. 2004, so many people left. So many coaches, tons of players, and they built it over 4 years, and obviously it ended with the Sugar Bowl and beating Alabama in another undefeated season.
And then what else did Andy coordinate?
When he came back, they won almost immediately. I mean, the team was loaded with talent, and he came in. They'd been in the conference title game the year before, and they did it again.
He coordinated 2 Rose Bowl appearances.
That would be years. Year 1 was the 11-1 season that got him to a conference title game. Year 2 was 2020, which is a mess, and then year 3 and 4, Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
So, when he gets to his 3rd and 4th season, he's pretty good. Go ahead and look at those records and come up with another answer. Then they're pretty good when he gets to year 3 and 4. And actually, looking at his resume, he didn't get to year 3 and 4. I mean, he's moved around a lot. Actually, after the Sugar Bowl, he ended up, he did a couple other things, but he ended up going to San Diego State a few years later. And I remember thinking, ooh, this could be, but he's only there 2 years, took off, got a better job. Gone. So a lot of his stops, you don't get to see what year 3 and 4 looks like. But years 3 and 4 at Utah, yeah, they've worked.
So Campbell's statement is shown and evidenced through the U of U's program and where they've had consistency on defense for decades, and hardly anybody ever moves, hardly anybody gets replaced or fired. Offensively, they've been replaced or moved consistently. And where has the team needed the most improvement offensively?
I would say that not only does Campbell's statement proven at the U, but I would say the same thing at the Y.
Yes,
because
of course.
A-Rod went in there his first 2 years. Kalani's first 2 years, he had Ty Detmer and 9-4, 4-9. So then they make the change. A-Rod comes in, they go 7-6, 7-6. Now it's like Andy Ludwig. You get to year 3, 11-1. You get to year 4, 10-3. Now, they dealt with quarterback injuries the next 2 years. Jaron Hall, tried to play through it, and it was obvious. Everybody who watched the Notre Dame game in Las Vegas, like, well, he's not healthy. There's something wrong there. So that took a little bit of luster, 8-5. The next year it's 5-2. They lose the quarterback. They lose 5 straight games at the end of the year. But then last year they have a healthy quarterback, and it's right back to 11 wins again. So do you have that consistency, familiarity, and is the QB healthy? And then you got a pretty good idea what's going to happen with A-Rod. Because that offensive staff has been together. It's not just A-Rod. Fessie's been there a long time.
8 years?
Yeah. Now, they have had changes with the O-line coach.
They have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, to your point, or to Campbell's point about consistency, yeah, you can see it paying off at both Utah and BYU. I guess the crazy thing is that Utah State has had so much change, and last football season accepted, it has largely gone pretty well. I mean, it's crazy what's happened on basketball. That's unbelievable.
Well, basketball's a different sport.
It is. You get the two best players. You can make stuff happen. Right. And the good news for you is a lot of your competition has just as much instability as you do. Everything's changing all the time everywhere.
Well, in the Mountain West,
football, there's just so many people 11 on the field at a time, but the whole roster, the staffs are enormous.
Right. And so when a coordinator is changed, that normally means
position coaches are going to change. The quote-unquote analysts, I don't know the analyst doesn't mean what it used to mean. They're out on the field now, so.
Right. Well, they brought in new Coy Detmer Jr. is doing it, and the other guy, Bajakian, who ended up being the coordinator now, is at UMass, and so he was doing that last year.
I guess the lack of consistency and the massive amount of turnover is why, even though I figure Bronco will be good in the long run at Utah State, you just wonder how he's going to do right out of the gate. Except at that level, there is such a lack of consistency that maybe he's dealing with inconsistency, but a bunch of people he's competing with are too, so maybe it's a wash, and maybe it won't hold him back. UNLV's had a ton of change. UTEP in the opener here, their coach is in his second year, but they got a brand-new quarterback.
I think at that level,
you see 50, 60, 70 guys
there
coming
are
and going.
more changes that take place.
So maybe that'll be a little bit of a wash and help Bronco out right out of the gate.
Potentially.
There still has to be a winner and a loser, as you like to say.
It's hard for me to see them being a consistent contender this year. But Bronco has been a master rebuilder of programs. He's done it in every place he's been. It's funny, we had on Rick Wright, the long time columnist for Albuquerque Journal, and he's talking about how there was such angst and anger of Bronco leaving. Mm-hmm. And why is that? Well, because he won the most games they won in 10 years.
See?
If he was 2-10, how much angst was...
Don't let the door hit you.
So, inadvertently, they were complimenting him.
Yeah. Well, and especially because of the way the season went. That was a slow start.
0-4. You can't get any slower.
So that means 5-2, and then they lost the finale.
Yeah.
But, man, for New Mexico, to be following their games and see them win 5 out of 7, that's not a big deal at some schools, but in New Mexico, that's...
Well, they haven't won 5 games since, I think, Bob Davie in 2016.
So that alone...
And Bronco got it done last year.
And the fact that they could dismiss the first 4 losses, well, he was just getting them together there in the opening month.
Yeah. And so it's funny
it's
that
a roller coaster.
He got run out of town because he left. Well, they're upset because he won to the level that, and I know 5-7, but we're talking about New Mexico here, where there's like 2,000 people in the state.
But it's also winning 5 times in 7 games. And I haven't gone through their schedules, but you just got to imagine how many times the last 30 years have they had any stretch where they were 5-2.
Right.
A handful, that's and why. Not recently.
He knows what he's doing. Anybody can see it, even if you don't know anything about him. Just look at the numbers, and it'll reflect in what he's been able to do. I think he'll get the job done in Logan because he's always gotten the job done. But I do think he's going to need some time because if he got to 7 wins this year, that would be phenomenal. Now, the good thing for him is that he's a very loyal guy, and he tends to hire the same people. So if you work for Bronco Mendenhall, I don't want to say you have a job for life, but he's willing to consider you strongly. So there is some continuity among the staff, among themselves, not necessarily with the players. That's all been new that they've had to speed that up and do through the spring practices and here in August. We'll see how it plays out. But when Campbell said that, thinking, that really does matter. And it's extremely important that you do that. I think it's one of the reasons why we think BYU basketball is going to hit the ground running much more this year than last year because Kevin Young has kept his staff intact. Now, the nature of college basketball is darn near most teams are bringing in way more new guys than they used to because of the portal. So everybody seems to be in the same boat there. But I think with Kevin Young having his second year and all the guys around him and the strength guy or the nutritionist is a lady, all those folks, they're all in their second year. And there's an adjustment that you have to make, and they've made it. And so I'm real interested to see how they do right out of the chute. My guess is they do much better. And I can tell you through conversations with him, tableside, he thinks he's got a whale of a team.
Feeling good.
Yes, and it's almost like, not quite, but it's almost like, wow.
Well, they do have some continuity. I mean, they're going to have some key guys back this year. Now, they've lost some key guys and got key guys to integrate.
But everybody does in basketball.
But not everybody has key players back.
That's where I think they'll hit the ground running.
Right.
And they will have a much better non-conference season. They will have, and that's, I mean, they're playing much better talent and much better competition than they did last year.
But that can really help them grow, even if they lose some
and so then when they get into conference play, I don't think we'll be sitting here at 2-4 thinking, where's this team going?
That would be so surprising.
Yeah.
They will have already had tests and shakedown cruises. They found out that their team had problems in the first 6 conference games that they didn't really know they had, or maybe didn't know to what degree they had them, even though they thought this could be a weakness for us, and then they found out, oh, that's definitely a problem. Now, with this schedule, those weaknesses are going to be getting identified in November. They got big games.
Plus, he has grown individually as a coach, as a head coach, because it had been in a while that he was a leader of a program. And he talked about that. I flat out asked him, what you learn out of the catching situation? And he gave a real careful answer.
He did.
But he learned stuff that's going to benefit him. And so that's why I think they're positioned. And the continuity of your coaches, as Matt Campbell said, I think it's underappreciated.
I think that he was, and his staff, were always good at evaluating the basketball part of it, but the fit, players with each other, players with their roles, players with the school, I think they're way dialed in with all of that in a way they just couldn't be 12 years ago. It was too new to too many of them because he hired a lot of people he knew, and obviously a lot of people he knew were in the NBA and hadn't done the college thing.
Now, he hired everybody he knew.
Right.
With the exception of Chris Burgess.
Which was why I wanted to say, most of them didn't have college experience because obviously Burgess did. But I just think they're way more attuned to that. And it's not like they didn't know it was an issue a year ago, but now they've lived it.
Right. And that's why I want to take a little bit of a cautious approach with Utah's offense. I think the ingredients are there. I'm not really worried about it, but I do think I need to allow them, and we need to allow them, and the fans need to allow them some form of adapting to the circumstances.
Yeah, but don't you feel like it's going to be the same thing again?
What?
The running game is going to be really good, but the passing game is going to take a while to come along. First off, the passing game is more complicated than the running game. It's more detailed, and you have to be better at it. The strengths of the roster look like they lend themselves to a good running game more than they do to a good passing game, and it doesn't mean the passing game can't come along, but, man, I have a hard time believing they can just add water, stir, and with all the new pieces of the puzzle, the passing games look great. Whereas with the run game, hey, it may not be as good as it's going to be. I get it can get better, but I'll bet the run game in the Rose Bowl is above average.
Right. Well, and if that's what they can do, then I don't necessarily have a big worry about the pass game. If they're so dominant in the run game, then who cares?
Well, that'd be interesting to see if they can hit the ground dominant in the run game, and maybe they can.
Well, I'm not gonna exclusively judge them by the first 3 games. I'm more about the conference.
I get it. But if they get through the first game, then they have 3 weeks to start fixing whatever issues. Their schedule sets up well for them, kind of the way the BYU basketball theory, if you have a test early and you can see some of the problems, now you got a couple games to try to iron out those problems, and then you get to game 4, which is game 1 of the conference, and Boom, big test, and it's on.
Right. Well, to me, that's the real test.
Yeah.
The first 3 games are not the real tests. They all count, but the real test comes, I think it's September 20th at home against Texas Tech.
But you need a little adversity when you have a new coaching staff so they can start figuring this stuff out. I just don't think BYU had adversity in the non-conference basketball schedule last year, and they didn't get to figure anything out.
Oh, they lost some games.
Yeah.
I think, but I think that the conference season is where you'll make your mark.
Everything. Coaches have told us that forever, man. Dave Rose used to just preach that over and over.
If Utah goes 2-1 in non-conference football, like, okay, all right.
It's not the end of the world.
Right.
No.
1-2 maybe, but I don't see that.
No, 1-2 would raise eyebrows.
Yeah. If they go 3-0, great. But even at 3-0, what have you proven?
3-0 was fool's gold last year. 4-0 was fool's gold last year. The conference is its own gauntlet, and it's a test, and it's awesome if you pass the first one, which Iowa State just did and which Utah did a year ago. But there's still so much work to be done, as we found out watching these a year ago.
But if they go 1-0, oh, man, Katie bar the door.
This year, winning the conference opener will matter.
Yes. Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
We thought it mattered last year.
Well, who cares?
We were wrong. But this year will be different.
I'm living in the present and in the future. and the show, when I walk out the door, that's another story.
Okay. But for the purposes of the next hour and a half.
Yes.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up this morning at 9 o'clock, we are talking football with Shehan Jeyarajah. He's going to join us every week. Writes for CBS Sports, national college football writer, lives in Texas, has a big emphasis on the Big 12. Get his thoughts on the opening weekend of action, 3 teams playing. That's coming up at the top of the hour right here on The Zone.
It's game week for the Utes, and The Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. It's time to kick off the 2025 season as Kyle Whittingham and the Utes open the year with a battle in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Utah football. Then catch College Football Saturday, game day at 10 a.m. with a postgame show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Beehive Meals. Join Hans and Scotty for the Cougar Preview Show, brought to you by Beehive Meals.
See, I'm glad you started to say it like I do.
Beehive Meals. Question up on our Facebook page. Ryder Lyons was awesome in his high school's win on TV Saturday night. Is he the next great BYU quarterback?
I don't think there's even a hint of a doubt.
Vernon slips down the very essence of that question. No, you forgot that Bear Bachmeier is the next great QB. Then Ryder Lyons would be the great QB.
Well, no, I didn't forget because that's a given. This is projection.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bear hasn't played a game yet. We're not living in the prison yet.
Irregardless.
Oh, Ned. Ned's waving you all off. Stop it.
No.
I have too many bad memories of getting overhyped for Jake Heap, so I'll take the wait-and-see approach this time.
Yeah, but this is different.
Nope. He's touched the stove. It's hot.
This is different, man. He is Ryder on the Storm Lions.
Daniel wants everyone to calm down.
No.
When he's on the field playing for BYU, then I will be excited. Oh, Ben. Ben's a Ute fan. Weighing into the Cougar question. Yes, if they can play high school teams. See what Ben did there?
Well, Ben, they'll have Utah on the schedule.
Oh, look at that.
Just kidding.
Matthew is ready. He's in line. Matthew, I hope so. He looked the part Saturday night.
Oh, did he look the part? I haven't seen anybody look that part since ever.
What percent would you put
95.
He's not even BYU's next quarterback.
What do you mean next quarterback? Well, obviously, Bachmeier.
There's lots of things. So Bachmeier's here, right? Mm-hmm. Now, and it could just play out, right? He could come back after a year on a mission that he's talked about. He could sit for a year, and then Bachmeier could go to the NFL after 3 and he could be the
plan
guy.
is there.
Right. That could all play out. But there's also alternative plans, as you well know. There's one where Bachmeier plays 4 and Ryder doesn't want to sit 2, so he goes somewhere else. There's one where
but they don't come back.
Ryder gets hurt or goes somewhere else, and somebody else steps in and is the guy and has the job locked up.
I know.
And there's no room for him there.
Name a scenario.
I can keep going with scenarios. 10%, 20, 50.
Well, it's impossible.
That's a long way out.
But the plan is there, though.
The possibility's there. I get it. The math adds up. I can see it.
I think this time it'll play out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because?
Just that.
Because it will. Because? I mean, the Max Hall scenario, if you back up, how early are we in the timeline now? Like, we're 2 years early in the timeline, right? 2 years before the Max Hall timeline, the Max Hall timeline is wildly improbable. And yet, nonetheless, it played out, and he was not only a really good quarterback, very durable. I don't know what's more impressive, how well he played or the fact that the guy just played through everything and just kept playing. Most quarterbacks over the course of 3 years are going to miss games. It's going to happen.
Well, once Max Hall became available, though, they knew that was a distinct possibility.
Right, but a couple years before he's the starting quarterback, he's the guy, I don't think. I mean, they were recruiting him and he's on the radar, so it's not a possibility.
You know, I don't want to get into too much with his history, but there was things there, obviously.
Right, exactly. But that makes it unpredictable 2 years before it all comes together.
But it was unpredictable, but they knew it.
They absolutely knew of him, and they knew there was a possibility.
Once he was on the radar for BYU, they knew that there was a distinct possibility that this was going to happen.
Right.
So it's not out of the blue. It wasn't wildly unpredictable. No one could have foresaw that. No, that's not true.
But 2 years before he's BYU starting quarterback, he's in high school. He's going to go to another college. He's still got to transfer. I mean, a lot of things had to happen.
Right, but they were all anticipated that they would happen.
I get that they were possible. You think it was beyond possible? It was anticipated? Expected?
It
There's an anticipation that
a
it could.
surprise.
I get that.
So, I mean, they foresaw it.
But at the same time,
I think you're making it
out
of the sky. Nothing is a lock.
Right.
You're making it sound like it was a big out of the sky, and it wasn't.
So is this like 80% probable? Is it 60% probable?
This is the literal plan. You have to have a plan. Plans don't work. What's the famous line in the movie? I love it when a plan comes together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how many plans have gone exactly the way the plan was? You got to just. You're looking at two guys here that in whatever year before we moved here would have said, no way, I'm not going to work in Utah. I'm not interested in working in Utah. I have no background in Utah. I have no connection in Utah.
Not on the radar, and yet here we are.
I'm living in the Southwest. I'm living in Arizona and California. And okay, but you had a plan that you would work, move up, continue to progress in your field.
I would take I'd progress
then it would take you where it took you.
And I'd take a better job, and
And this is
as
where
much
it
as I
took
didn't
us.
think I was going to Utah, I didn't think I was going to Oklahoma
And
either.
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out I didn't go to Oklahoma.
All of that was a possibility.
I could have met Barry Trammell decades earlier.
Yeah. We all had possibilities of. We had a plan. We had an outline for a plan. Plans don't include necessarily every little specific detail, but they include a plan. And they include the general outline of it. And this is right now, I think we're in more than the general outline. I watched the game. It was Saturday night, and there was nothing else on that I wanted to watch. And the kid looked awesome against a team that needs to get some class and figure out what they're doing there. And he had great receivers. I'll give him that. A couple of these kids look like they're big-time players. And it's a football factory. It's the same one, right, Yock, that Browning went to?
Correct, Folsom.
Yeah, right. And so they're really good. Freddie Whittingham coached up there. Troy Taylor coached over there. So a
power in the Sacramento area.
Right. My old roommate from college lives there. So, and I'm a little bit familiar. I've been to visit him a few times. And so we know of the program. So Browning started all 4 years at Washington. So there is something there in the makeup of the program. So the kid looks really, really good. And right now, I think it will happen. But plans change, and then you adapt when the situation presents it that you have to do something else. So be it. But right now, you can see it. I can tell you, and I've been saying this for freaking weeks, when they recruited Bachmeier, he was going to be the starter in 2026. That was the plan. And that will happen. He will be the starter in 2026.
But first, 2025.
Once the Retzlaff thing went down, then it was a no-brainer that he was going to start this year. I really felt that, which is why I put myself out there. And I didn't want to tweet it out because then it draws attention to it that I don't want attention to.
But you did write it 4 times. But who reads full?
Well, I know, but the only time you get it's anything is if you tweet it.
Because people have the attention span to read 2 sentences, but they want to go to a website and read however many. I don't
want to burn people.
20 or 30 inches that you write. It has it in there.
Our listeners need to listen with a discerning ear. And if I say something a whole bunch of times,
then maybe somebody's told
leave
you
it at
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to. I'll never burn anybody. I'll never reveal anybody. The trust and the confidence that they have in me is far more important than any individual story will ever be. So that was the plan. The plan got expedited by a year, and Lions, I think it does happen. But you know, who knows? I mean, Bachmeier was going to go and play for Troy Taylor, and it lasted 2 weeks. And then Andrew Luck comes in, and they got that deal going on, and who knows what. But the bottom line, the result is they let him go. So then Bachmeier's out the door. His plan was to go to Stanford, play for the guy. The guy's a quarterback coach, quarterback-friendly system, blah, blah, blah. He helped Tyler Huntley get to the NFL. And it changed, so his plan needed to change. Well, he had a relationship with A-Rod and Kalani, so the plan changed. But the premise of going to play for somebody that I know and trust, you see, that didn't change. You see what I'm saying there?
I do, and I think there's some parallels there to the whole Max Hall thing.
So right now, if things stay the same, I think he'll be the starter when he's ready to go, depending on what happens with Bear.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. More football coming up, 9 o'clock hour. Shehan Jeyarajah, CBS Sports National College Football writer at the top of the hour. Kevin Clark, host of This Is Football on ESPN at 9:30. Stay with us.
Hut, 20 hike, 20. It's game week for the Cougars. And the Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. The Cougars open the season at home at LaBelle Edwards Stadium as they welcome in Portland State. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Cougar football and your chance to win tickets to the game. Then catch college football Saturday. Game day at 10 a.m. with a postgame show immediately following the game on KSLSports.com. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app.
Yeah, boy.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer strong play of the weekend.
And now here's Cal Raleigh, fresh from setting the Major League record. Tying it, swinging a drive, deep to left field. More history, goodbye baseball. Cal Raleigh with his historic 49th home run of the year. Cal has hit more home runs than any catcher in the history of the game of baseball.
There's the Chevy Strong play of the game. Number 48, number 49. Mariners win. Cal Raleigh's a hero. Home run in the first and second innings. Know that today after 3 o'clock. Alex and JJ will call for it, and you can win fabulous prizes. The Chevy Strong play of the game. Question up on our Facebook page. A Washington man waited 14 hours for In-N-Out Burger to open its first location in the state of Washington. How crazy is this?
That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Ben labeled it very crazy because you prompted him with the word crazy. And Jason said, there's no shortage of stupid people in this world.
Well, he could have gotten a car in less time.
And gone to Oregon and gotten a burger and come back. Seattle to Portland's got to be like 3 hours.
It is.
You're there. They've got locations in Oregon.
So I don't know what was going on there. Why would you do that? And nothing against In-N-Out. They're fine. But it's not like a life-changing burger. I don't know that I've ever had a life-changing meal of any kind.
And if it was home-cooked. It was your mom's. Mom's Italian food.
I don't want to say I would give anything because that's too trite.
You would give a lot.
But I would long for one more chance to sit down on a Sunday and feast at her ability to put some Italian food that I grew up with literally at least once, if not 2 or 3 times every week. I mean, my sister, we had a 50th birthday party, and so she had a ton of friends because she was in the school district and well-known, blah, blah, blah. And my mother made just the whole thing, and she went with what she does best, or did best in this case, and it was Italian food. And I heard people, we had tables set up out the side because it's down in Phoenix and the weather's nice and all. And, man, this is awesome. I haven't tasted anything this good ever at any place I've ever gone. And that's what she made. And I had no idea that I would long to miss it to the level that I do. I mean, nothing against my wife when it comes to that type of stuff, but she's really good at golf.
I see what you did there. And your wife is really good at golf.
She's playing as we speak.
That's a stunner.
In a tournament.
How many times a week could you say that? This time of year.
That she's really good at golf?
That she's playing in a tournament as we do the show.
Oh, a lot. Yeah, for sure. And that's great. Good. Yeah. It's awesome. And if that's what you enjoy, and it's a healthy habit, and it's a game that you're forever trying to achieve perfection and literally never achieve. So, but you're always after it. It's literally a never-ending conquest and attempts and all that stuff. And my mother was just really good. I had no idea that I would, when I was 16, 17 years old, that I would come to miss it as much as I did. But my sister, you know what was cool about that? It was on a Saturday, and so I called her, because it was literally on her birthday. So I called her from here, wished her a happy birthday, and then got on a plane.
I remember that story, yeah. That was a great decoy. You call, she understands you're not going to be there.
Right.
Totally got her.
And so she's in the middle of everybody screaming, blah, 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 and they did that, and then I come up behind, tap her on the shoulder.
I don't have the patience to wait 14 hours for food. You literally wait through a couple meals trying to get a burger.
I would not stand in anything for 14 hours.
I will say that In-N-Out, lots of places have loyal customers.
I've been to In-N-Out millions of times.
And they put a new one in on 2100 South, and I go by.
Lines are always long.
And they are. They are incredible.
They can need about 10 more locations. Yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah. This is packed all hours.
Yeah, I get that.
There's a Costco near there. When I go to that Costco and drive past it to get back to the freeway, it's amazing how long that line is. I will
look at carrot cake completely different in the manner that I ever looked at carrot cake. And you're wondering, why am I going down this road?
I am wondering. It's break time.
Do you have any idea, Yak? Carrot cake? All I will say is Kelly Kapowski from Saved by the Bell. What's her real name? Tiffany?
Tiffany Amber Thiessen, and she dropped the Amber, right?
All I'm saying, and you can find this online right now, is I will never look at carrot cake in the manner that I now view carrot cake. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Well,
I'm not looking at that on a work
there's
computer.
No. You will not see anything. Believe me. I'm a wholesome man here.
Wholesome, nice. As fresh as the last commercial break.
But I will never look at carrot cake the way I look at a carrot cake now. Just go check that.
Shehan Jeyarajah joins us next to talk big football right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined now by CBS Sports national college football writer Shehan Jeyarajah. Shehan, good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to finally have a college football season.
You have games to talk about. Who did you get a better read on, Kansas while they were destroying Fresno State, or Kansas State and Iowa State slipping and sliding in the rain in Ireland?
Well, I think I got a little bit from all of it. The thing that I got for Kansas, I think, is that their offense just looks so much more like the Andy Kotelnicki units. It was just Fresno State, so you don't want to read too much into it, but I felt really good about it. With that Kansas State-Iowa State game, it was so ugly. And don't get me wrong, these are two teams that thrive in the muck. I think that Iowa State definitely got to play that game on sort of their, plane that they'd like to play it, but it's going to be fascinating to see them come back because both of them have big games coming up.
Are you now sitting, wearing, or standing, whatever you're doing, wearing a multicolored sports coat with a flamboyant style of pants?
No, we had to rush my daughter out the door to daycare, so I'm still basically in my pajamas.
Because I like your get-ups when I see you at Big 12 Media Days. You stand out for a multitude of reasons, and that's cool. It reflects your style, and I like that. And I read your pieces now, since we've gotten to know you a little bit, and you, like me, you like that BYU is going with Bachmeier. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I think that when you look at BYU, and frankly, when you look at Big 12 championship races, so much of the time the difference in this league is having dynamic players on offense. And, so I think about a team like Kansas State in 2022 where they have Deuce Vaughn, who's just able to be that final little nudge. And I think that with BYU, look, they had two guys who have played some college football in McKay Hillstead and Trayson Borgett, but I don't think that either really has the ability to add that dynamic piece, whereas I think that Bear Bachmeier, despite some of the issues that I know he will have as a true freshman, I think he does. And you look at this receiver room as well, there's, I think, a lot to be excited about, including Chase Roberts and Tiger Bachmeier coming over from Stanford. You look at the running back position with LJ Martin, but I think that Bear Bachmeier is that final piece of, hey, you know what? We have the ability to truly go downfield to cause some problems. And I think that you even look during BYU's 11-win season last year. They relied on Jay Kretzlaff so much to be that game-changing playmaker, especially in the fourth quarter. And I think that they needed to find some way to replicate that.
How many of these explosive game changers do you think an offense has to have to be among the elite in the Big 12? And how many do Utah and BYU have?
Well, I think that you probably need, let's say, 3. I think your quarterback probably needs to be one of them. I think that having a running back there helps. And then I think you want to have maybe one receiver who can really take the top off of a defense. And I'll tell you what, I think that is my question mark to some extent about Utah. I don't know if they have necessarily guys that I feel like are game breakers at receiver. I feel really good, of course, about Devin Dampier. Maybe he's worth, a player and a half with what he's able to do, both with his arm and with his legs. But I don't know that they have the dynamic piece at receiver. BYU, again, I think that Bear Bachmeier gives them the ability to maybe have a piece like that at quarterback. I think that LJ Martin has that upside at receiver. And, look, they have a lot of solid pieces at wide receiver and tight end. But I think that is sort of a final piece as well, whether it is Tiger Bachmeier, whether it is Chase Roberts going downfield with more consistency. I think that's kind of a final piece to say, hey, you know what, to be a really good offense in this conference, I think you do need a mismatch at receiver.
This conference is striving for respect because most of it flows to the SEC and Big Ten. We know all that. And we had at ACC meetings, they're running their mouths that they're the third best power conference, blah, blah, blah. So we've got this situation at hand. And the non-conference seems like it means a little bit more for the Big 12. These games this week that are against Power 4 opponents, and we'll get your idea on how important this weekend is. I'll set up the games, and then you can answer The premise of the question, which I think you already got, is Auburn at Baylor, Nebraska versus Cincinnati. Now, that'll be played in Kansas City. Georgia Tech at Colorado. Deion Sanders attracts eyeballs. There's no doubt about that. And then we know about the Utes going down the Rose Bowl to play the Bruins. And then you've got TCU at North Carolina, which, would be just another non-conference game, but it's got Bill Belichick attached to it, so that's going to draw a ton of eyeballs to it, no doubt about that. So, answer the question on how important this weekend is for the Big 12 and its perception.
I think it's big, and I'll especially point to three of those teams that you mentioned, Baylor, Utah, and TCU. I think that all three of them need to win their games, and I say that for a couple of reasons. One, I think that all three of these teams are going to be in the Big 12 race at the end of the year. And the other piece of that, too, is that it's not just whether they can make the playoff as a conference champion. It's also whether they can contend potentially as at-large teams, if they can try to be a second team in the playoff. And the reality is, if Utah loses to a team like UCLA, that's going to be middle of the pack at best in the Big Ten. Or if Baylor loses to a team like Auburn, that also will probably be middle of the pack in the SEC. It doesn't just hurt their individual seasons, it hurts overall perception of the Big 12 heading into the month of November and December. So I think ultimately those are pivotal games, not just for the conference title races and not just for building some momentum. But I think that, again, like I'm not going to go as far as saying that the Big 12 can cost itself a second playoff spot in week one, but I do think that you are getting dangerously close. And it's not just these games. In week 2, Baylor plays SMU. In week 3, TCU plays SMU. Like, there are these pivotal matchups against teams that you might be up against at the end of the year from the big conferences. You have to take care of business to have a chance to get a second team in at the end of the year.
So how many of these Big 12 teams have to start off 3-0? I mean, just absolutely have to be 3-0 so that they have a chance to be ranked, so that they have a win over a power conference, hopefully, and depending on whose schedule we're talking about. And that then when they play another team that's 3-0, or if they meet when they're both 4-0 or 5-0 or whatever, you barely get penalized for the loss, but you get a big bump for a win.
I think that you really need those teams, especially that start the season ranked, to look really good. I'm thinking Arizona State, of course, Texas Tech. We'll kind of see where Kansas State lands after their loss to Iowa State. But Iowa State potentially now will have a chance to push towards the top 15 with a game against Iowa. So I think you really need those teams to deliver in a big way. I think that you also would love to see BYU and Utah potentially come through. I mean, they were two teams that were at the right on the edge of the rankings. So I think that if they play well in non-conference play, they're going to have a chance to be in. And I think that, again, we talked about their game off the top, but I think that if Baylor is 3-0 with wins over Auburn and SMU, then this is maybe like a top 15 team heading into Big 12 play with Kansas State and Arizona State on the schedule in the first half of the season. So I think that 5 or 6 of these teams being in that position would be really, really helpful for the conference. And again, I think that you really need the teams and brands that have a lot of momentum coming into the year to ultimately deliver.
You like the SEC going to 9 conference games starting next season?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think that, it'll be interesting to see how non-conference scheduling evolves as a result of this, because I do think that one piece of this is that there are, I believe, 4 teams in the SEC that play final week games against non-SEC opponents year in, year out. South Carolina, Clemson, Kentucky, Louisville, Florida State. And I hope that these matchups are not impacted. I hope that this ends up being additive as opposed to subtractive. But I think that overall it ends up being a good thing, because here's the reality. I mean, when you compare the SEC to the Big 12 and the Big 10, there's an extra loss being handed out to half of the conference because they have a 9th conference game in the Big 12 and the Big 10. And I think even you look last year, I mean, imagine if there was one less conference game and, some of these teams that were 7-2 are actually 8-1 in conference and 11-1 overall. Like, I think it changes the perception quite a bit. So I think the SEC moving to a similar model will help some of these other conferences out a little bit, because if the comparison is between an 11-2 team from the Big 12 with an 8-4 team from the SEC, I think that the Big 12 teams are going to be in much better position heading forward.
Because the SEC seems to have given in on this point with the 9 conference games, and because they also did that deal where they said you've got to play a 10th team from a power league or Notre Dame, which I like because it'll protect those 4 ACC rivalry games. Bama's been scheduling up. Texas has been scheduling up. Now everybody will need to. But it feels like they gave in to the Big Ten on this point, which means I can't imagine them giving in on the playoff as well. Whatever playoff gets adopted, the SEC is going to have to love it, aren't they? I mean, the collective ego, they're not giving in again.
No, and I think that this was very much a negotiating point. They wanted more focus paid to strength of schedule, but in exchange for the 9 conference games. But I think that it's also a concession that they'll give in to move towards that 5+11 system. The Big Ten has kind of thrown out the 24 or 28 team playoff. I think that's a non-starter, not just for the SEC, but everyone else in college football. And they don't want to be in a position as well where they're working with the 4 auto bids, with the 4-4-2-2-1 system. So I do think that this does hasten the arrival of the 5+11 16-team playoff. And I think that ultimately that's what almost everybody wants. The Big Ten has kind of been that last holdout because they want to guarantee themselves a few more spots and a little more revenue. But ultimately, I mean, there's not necessarily a whole lot of advantage for anybody to guarantee that many spots because it does devalue, your regular season. It completely devalues your conference championship and your conference championship game. And I think that in almost every year, you'd expect that the Big Ten and SEC will get 4 in regardless in a 16-team system. So I think that ultimately we're hastening the arrival of the 5+11, and I think that's probably good for the sport.
Yeah, plus 2, the season-long publicity that you draw from it and the unveiling of the rankings and all that stuff. It's so, what's the word? I mean, enticing. It's like, even though I want to say, I don't care about that, I find myself sitting in front of the television when they start to do it every week and to see if our locals are going to be in or how high our locals are going to be. And now that BYU's in a conference, the Big 12, it becomes paramount for us in our market because we've got 2 of the 16 teams are in the market, and it draws all sorts of publicity to it. And why would you, as a sport, want to give away all this free attention that you're getting as the season goes on?
Well, and especially if you are in this world with auto bids, it's like all of a sudden there's only like 3 or 4 teams that will really be impacted by these rankings and by at-large opportunities. And you almost can't play your way in through the at-large system. You have to do it through your conference. And I think that would ultimately be a bad thing for attention and perception. And again, I think that the last thing you want to do is devalue your whole system and the teams that are a part of it based off of trying to guarantee yourself a little more money by getting teams into the playoff.
These are pretty high-profile time slots for the Big 12 Week 1. Fox is starting to put games over the air, which always gets more eyeballs on games. Has there been any talk about ABC doing that? Because it seems like that'd be a huge opportunity for the Big 12s and obviously our local schools, Utah and BYU here. They put games Friday night on ESPN. Nobody's watching primetime anymore for anything but sports. Why not put sports there?
Yeah, I don't know how much conversation there's been about that from ABC. Obviously, you're fighting the sort of broadcast networks and their existing programming. And the other thing, too, is that, different networks have treated Fridays a little bit differently, and even weeknight games in general just a little differently. Fox has been more willing to pull in a Friday night game, has been more willing to pull in a Thursday night game, but you haven't seen that quite the same way from some of these other networks. So I think that what happens with the Friday games and what kind of ratings they get are going to probably spur action one way or another. And now, look, this first week is always a little different because you do have games every single day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and that's not the case most weeks. But Fox, I think, really kind of feels like, hey, this is a place where we can create some advantage for ourselves. And the Big 12, of course, for attention's sake, is willing to acquiesce.
How about the TNT thing? It seems like they want to trump it up a little bit, so maybe there can be some more attention drawn because they're going to make it a big deal. I think Arizona and Hawaii will be the Big 12's first game on TNT with the TNT partnership this week.
No, and I think that it's not just putting it on TNT, which I think will be pretty big for them, but it's also the amount of shoulder programming that TNT and Turner in general is providing, I think is notable. You're seeing some of the inside the Big 12 studio stuff move to True TV. It'll be distributed on Bleacher Report, which obviously is a very powerful brand still. So I think that this was very much something that the Big 12 saw as an opportunity to increase their brand in a lot of key ways. So I think that it's going to work out really well. And again, the biggest conflict that you have with some of these, traditional TV partners is that obviously they're tied into certain leagues. I mean, ESPN, of course, is so tied in to the SEC and ACC. They have exclusive rights. With the Big Ten, it's Fox. With CBS, it's, obviously more Big Ten driven. So I think that having more of these outlets and opportunities to be treated as a priority, I think can only be a good thing.
They got to put Charles Barkley on there, at least to do college football gambling. PK has a great Charles Barkley college football Vegas story.
Do you want me to tell it?
Yeah, I think absolutely. No. He needs to hear it. This is going to crack him up. He's totally going to be able to visualize this.
I'm a Jimmy Buffett fan, and several years back, you remember when Michigan State and the blocked punt was returned, and Michigan State won the game, right? Mm-hmm. So that was on a Saturday, and so I'm at the MGM in Vegas. And we're going to go to the shows at Vegas. He would do Saturday nights in October. Did it for many, many years. And so we're there. I get that one day off during the season. And get there early, like 4 or 3 o'clock or something. Go to the sports book, obviously. And right as we're getting there and walking in, the Michigan's setting up the punt. And they punt, and it gets blocked. And it was an unbelievable play, right? We all remember that.
Yeah.
The floor area of the sports book is just going nuts. And they all turn around, and it was like the Pope at the Vatican. They turn around, and up in the balcony, everyone, hundreds of people turn around and look up. And who emerges from sitting on a chair on this private balcony? Charles Barkley. And they knew he was there. I didn't know he was there because I had just recently got there, but he had come up and played to the crowd a little bit, so they don't know. Everybody turns and looks to him, and it was the craziest scene I've ever seen in a sports book. So that's what my partner DJ is referring to. And Barkley was carrying on like he does. That's who he is.
He's whooping at the crowd like the block punt won whatever bet parlay he put together. Who knows? So he's fist pumping, and they're all hollering and screaming at him. It had to be a scene straight out of a movie.
It really was. I've been to sports books a million times over, covering a million things in Vegas, and I'd never seen anything like it. And Barkley it was an incredible play, obviously, combined with Charles Barkley, of all people, being there.
Man of the people. Man of the people.
Yeah.
I love it.
John, we appreciate the time. As always, enjoy the first full week, and there'll be, like you said, Big 12 games spread across all these days. It'll be great.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Shehan Jeyarajah joining us right here. CBS Sports National College Football writer, lives in Texas, has an emphasis on the Big 12, and will be joining us every Monday throughout the season to review the games, look at the next week, and then whatever issues are breaking around college football, talk about those as well.
Oh, CBS Sports, one of the go-to websites because of him, and we've had others on also.
Yep, but they provide a lot of coverage.
They do a great
job. You're always
job.
looking for one more. I want to read one more thing. Well, we'll go there. They've probably got it.
For sure.
They have a lot of coverage.
They do.
7 writers doing the predictions we were talking about last weekend, so you can see how much content those 7 are cranking out.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that play. 7 readers for 7 writers.
Or 70,000, one way or the other.
7 writers for 7 million readers.
Okay, fine.
Kevin Clark, host of This Is Football on ESPN, joins us next. Stay with us.
It's game week for the Aggies, and the Zone is getting you ready for kickoff. Utah State will kick off the 2025 season with a battle at Maverick Stadium against UTEP. Listen all week long for the best coverage of Aggie football and your chance to win tickets to the game. Then, catch all the play-by-play action, beginning with the Aggie pregame show this Saturday at 4:30 on 1280 The Zone. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is live on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit their website at trajanwealth.com. We're joined now by Kevin Clark, host of This Is Football on ESPN. Kevin, good morning.
What's going on, guys? I have to say, local angle here. I went to the University of Miami. They played Notre Dame this weekend. I've been watching Keelan Marion's return for BYU against Utah all week long, hoping for some excitement this weekend. Yeah. I know that's how the transfer portal works now, is you watch other college games you have nothing to do with, hoping for transfer sites. I've been watching a lot of Utah football and BYU football this week.
Well, that was a very important play in a very heated rivalry that made a big difference, that's for sure. He gets going. He's an exciting player.
Yeah, no, hope so.
Let's pull, before we get to the football part, let's do the journalism broadcasting show part. When you host a show, This Is Football, how excited are you in mid to late August when you finally start to get games? Because I'm listening to some national shows that aren't branded as football. They're branded as wide-ranging shows.
Yeah.
And they have probably done about a week of baseball programming, 2 days around the All-Star break, one around the trade deadline, one around opening day, maybe like 3 weeks of NBA programming, two around the finals, one around the All-Star game, a little bit around the draft. And then everything else has been football all year. And that's a broad-based show? Oh, my gosh. I mean, I know we love our football, but you need some games.
It's wild. So I do a lot of talk shows and all that stuff, guys. And the one thing I'm just so tired of talking about, more than anything, is what Aaron Rodgers is going to look like with the Steelers. Because I probably answered the question, this is not an exaggeration, across shows, probably 100 times, okay? Probably 100 times, and I said he's going to be the 15th best quarterback in the NFL, all that stuff, right? And that's all they need to win 9 games, 10 games, or whatever. But at some point, I've been dying. Like, we've had the information we've needed since maybe the first week of training camp, guys. Like, maybe 10 days into it, 12 days into it, you play one preseason game, you kind of figure it out. And so we've been doing nothing but talking for 8 months. And I'm with you guys. Like, I'm just so excited for the games to get here. Even the college stuff over the weekend really made me happy because we could just start talking about real ball. One thing about football becoming a 12-month sport is there's just more talking about it. And even the draft, it's all projections, and people talk about, what's this team going to do even in March and February for next year? And the answer is we don't know until we see the ball snapped. And what's amazing in, 10 days, whatever it is, we get to see real ball and we get to stop talking. And then what's funny about it, guys, is it's like the Men in Black, mind eraser thing. We just forgot about every conversation we had for the past 8 months once the ball is spotted.
We don't see a lot of the quarterbacks, the first-team guys, play a whole bunch in the preseason, so we see the youngsters, right? And so you got the situation with a bunch of youngsters and getting opportunities or not getting opportunities. How much do you put in the stock of youngsters at quarterback in the 3 preseason games during the month of August, whether they look good, whether they look bad, to be a determinant as far as how good they'll be? And specifically here, we've got a local kid with Jackson Dart being one of those guys.
As much as I want to say, okay, Jackson Dart's a dude and he's a franchise quarterback and he should be starting week 1, and I do think he should be playing really early, I pumped the brakes on pretty much all preseason performances as a quarterback. You're going against backups. You're going against, and by the way, like these backups are still worlds better than any team you saw in college, because it's basically a college all-star team in some ways, even if you're talking about the twos, the threes that you're playing against. But what's funny is that I went to the Bengals-Eagles preseason game, and they were talking about the defense and Shamar Stewart and the rookies there. And Zach Taylor basically said, guys, we're just keeping it as vanilla as possible. We don't want to show anything. And so for some of these guys on defense, it's just cardio. And so for me, I think you can eliminate yourself from looking like the guy in preseason, but you can't confirm you're the guy in preseason. Nathan Peterman, who's one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen at the NFL level, he looked great in the preseason. Daniel Jones had awesome numbers his first preseason with the Giants. So for me, Dart checked all the right boxes. I want to be optimistic about it, but to say, okay, this is the guy, this is the franchise guy, it's too early for that. I'm glad Giants fans. I live in New York. I'm glad Giants fans get a guy to celebrate. That's exciting. I'm not going to say don't do that, but what I am saying is that he's got a long way to go still.
Tyler Huntley played at the U. He was in Baltimore for a while. Now he's bounced around a little bit. It's only preseason football, as you just spelled it out, but he looked good in the preseason. Did he do enough to catch on with somebody? I mean, the Raiders have had a quarterback injury. Somebody else will have a quarterback injury in another week or two. Is he going to catch on, or is it all over for the former Ute?
I think he's going to catch it. I mean, he played 5 games last year. For me, it's knowing what to do is an underrated trait in the NFL, right? Everybody says, hey, we love the athleticism of this guy. We love the ceiling of this guy. What coaches want out of a QB2 or QB3 is a guy who knows how to operate an offense, how to run a huddle, and where to put the ball, okay? So Tyler Huntley has played, I'm going to guess, he's probably started over 10 games in his career, with Baltimore obviously a few years ago, last year with Miami. And so that matters. And when you're determining who's going to be your QB2 or your QB3, as long as the money is right. I mean, he was in an impossible situation in Cleveland. That was a crowded quarterback room. He was always going to be the odd man out. They were always going to keep Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel, and then Pickett gets hurt, and then Flacco's the starter. So that was a pretty tough situation. So I'd expect him to catch on somewhere and get another cup of coffee. Again, just guys who know what to do are a valuable commodity in the National Football League.
My sister has Arizona Cardinals season tickets, and she's always asking me about them and what do I think. I'm trying to handicap the NFC West. And I don't know where to go, which direction. Where do I start with? Well, there's a definitive team that everybody's chasing, a la Kansas City, whoever it might be throughout the other divisions. Buffalo, obviously, in the East there for the AFC. What do you think about that division?
It's funny. I've been talking about this for a couple of days now on my shows and on various other things, because I was a Rams optimist. I was buying all the Rams stocks you could possibly get. Then Matthew Stafford's getting, cryogenic back treatment, and they're cagey about his status and all this stuff. And I'm just saying, man, I don't know about this. And so for me, this is a division that's been thrown into chaos, because I thought the Rams were going to run away with it. I thought the Rams were going to make the Super Bowl of the NFC. All of a sudden, you have a Matthew Stafford back issue that could linger. Back issues, I mean, heck, I'm over 30 and I golf. Back issues don't go away. And so I just think that there's a chaos there where I don't think the Niners are going to be as good as they were the last few years. I think the Rams are to come back down to the pack if Matthew Stafford isn't 100%. And then look at a Seahawks team that people are saying might have the best defense in football this year. And then the Cardinals are right there. Kyler Murray we know what his floor is. The ceiling is probably lowered since he came into the league, but he can make an offense happen. Trey McBride's one of the best tight ends in football. The nerds in the NFL love what Jonathan Gannon's been able to scheme up. So I think Arizona is probably going to compete for a wild card spot, and I also just think with the Rams' uneasiness that might be anybody's division at this point.
I can't believe more people aren't picking Seattle. I know they got rid of some big names at wide receiver, but they were the only 10.
It's a Darnold thing.
Yeah, they were the only 10-win team in the NFL last year. They changed quarterbacks, but Darnold showed he can win regular season games against bad and decent teams. The best teams will scheme him up, and it'll probably go poorly. But don't you think that division is there for the taking with 10 or 11 wins?
I do. Again, that's all dependent on Matthew Stafford's health. If I'm wrong and everybody's wrong and Matthew Stafford's 100%, that team can win 14 games because of that front seven and then the offense and then Sean McVay, okay? But if they're going to be playing Jimmy Garoppolo for 5 games, 6 games, if Matthew Stafford's never going to be 100%, then yes, the division is there for the taking, and Seattle's going to be right there. I'm not a huge Darnold guy. I think Geno Smith's better than Sam Darnold, and so I think there's going to be a downgrade there, but I think Mike McDonald's one of the smartest guys in football. Got to know him a little bit when he was at Baltimore, so I'm in on that program. I think that I'm long-term success, and I do think they can compete kind of like we're talking about the Cardinals for a playoff spot.
Washington with their second-year quarterback. Wow, he didn't look like a rookie last year. You got to give it to him, man. He played well. They got darn near all the way. You have to think that they'll be back. How good is Daniels? Because I don't know that you could ask for much better as a rookie.
Well, it's not just that he was amazing. It's that there's meat left on the bone. And what I mean by that, guys, is he was one of the best deep passers in the history of college football. I think he had more explosive plays, 20-yard plays than anybody ever. He beat Joe Burrow's record, which is pretty darn good. And I'm not talking about LSU record. I'm talking about national record. Obviously, Joe Burrow was something to behold in college and in the NFL. But he didn't show the deep ball last year like that, okay? And so I think there's still room for him to push the ball down the field. I don't know if you guys just saw Terry McLaurin sign a 3-year extension just now, so everything's going to be settled there. I think this has the capability to be a special team. I think the NFC is a little bit wide open. I think the Eagles are very good. They have a couple of personnel questions, but I think they'll solve that. Obviously, I'm talking about the Rams here and how good they can be. I think the Packers are going to be really good. But I think the Commanders are in the first tier for me for NFC contenders. I think I would not be shocked at all. Like, the defense is taking a step forward, but they have a defensive head coach, and Dan Quinn, who knows what to do, and they upgraded the personnel a little bit. The biggest thing for me, guys, is that C.J. Stroud had a massive sophomore slump, and the reason he had a massive sophomore slump was because of the offensive line in Houston. The Commanders were proactive and attacked the offensive line personnel-wise this year, getting Laramie Tunsil and then Josh Conway Jr. in the draft. So I think you've removed that element of it. I think he's going to be awesome.
The Chiefs have been awesome. I think it's 9 straight division titles, 6 straight AFC title games. But talk about improving the offensive line. It's clearly been a weakness for them in this massive run when they've seemed to have almost no weaknesses. But the Chargers and the Broncos with second and third year coaches, the Broncos with a second year quarterback. Is this year somebody else wins the AFC West?
It's gonna be the hardest one. I've gone back and forth. I've picked the Broncos most of the time. I haven't done my official picks anywhere. I haven't submitted them, but I'm leaning towards the Broncos. It's funny. I've got a couple colleagues at ESPN, and it's almost tongue-in-cheek now, where they're they're picking the Broncos to win the division with the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, almost like a cop-out. It's just so funny how scared we are of the Chiefs because they've been the boogeyman. They've been the Terminator. They've annihilated everybody. And so for me, I think the Broncos have the best chance. I think that the Chargers are still a couple of years away, but I think they'll do it at some point. I think the Raiders are going to be good. I think for the first time, guys, the Chiefs have benefited so much, even though they've had playoff success and they've obviously shown themselves to be the best team in the NFL a lot over the past 6 years. But they've benefited from the fact that the Raiders were an easy out. The fact that the Broncos with Nathaniel Hackett and Vance Joseph before that were an easy out. The fact that the Chargers couldn't get together. That's not going to happen for the foreseeable future with the head coaches in that division and then the quarterbacks in that division. So for me, I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be the biggest challenge ever.
When's it time to panic about Caleb Williams?
This year, there's no excuses this year. And I just think that last year he had the most unblocked pressures in the history of the league, because the offensive line didn't know what it was doing. But he also held on to the ball too long. And I think now you're getting professional offensive line play, offensive coordinator play. There's no excuses. So at the end of this year, we'll know. We will absolutely know. And so I'm not panicking at any point until, honestly, Give him some November to figure it out. Think about somebody like Jordan Love. Halfway through Jordan Love's breakout year, we were wondering if he was the guy, and saying maybe this isn't trending correctly. So give him 8 games this year, figure it out, and then by November we'll know.
A lot of interest in the NFC North here because there's some good football, and the Lions have been a great story, but Jordan Love went to Utah State. Is it the Packers' time to win this division? How big a loss is it for Detroit, the fact that they lose a coordinator who gets so much credit, and he stays in the division and goes to the Bears? And obviously Minnesota lost the quarterback. They're going to turn to a rookie here. How can they possibly repeat what they did last year? Should Love and the Packers win the division now, or should it be Detroit?
Yeah. I picked the Packers to win make the Super Bowl last year, and that didn't turn out to be correct. But I think he was hurt in week 1 in Brazil, if you remember that, Jordan Love. And I think he wasn't able to use his legs enough. And if you guys remember from Utah, Utah State, he could. The reason he was drafted was because he was good enough. He was obviously an amazing passer, could throw the ball in the bucket, but could also bail out a play with his legs. He wasn't able to do that at all last year, because he was hurt. And so for me, I'm just looking at this and I'm saying, if he's fully healthy, they got Matthew Golden. They led the NFL in drops last year. I think there's a really special chance here. I wish they added one more pass rusher to the front 7, but we'll see what happens with Micah Parsons here or something like that. Maybe a Trey Hendrickson. Maybe they go out and they get something crazy done to try to open up that Super Bowl window. But I think they're going to win the division. I think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender.
Is there a college team we should be paying attention to because they got an NFL quarterback and about 15 NFL players, so obviously they're going to win?
Don't pay attention to Miami until they show something on the field. I'll say that. Okay. I think LSU is going to be really good. I think LSU is going to beat Clemson. I think Nussmeier, he's got such a quick release. His dad is an NFL coach. And I think they've got studs everywhere. And so I think LSU is as crazy as it sounds, is kind of a dark horse contender for the SEC. When you think about how stacked that is, everyone's picking Texas, and people are talking about South Carolina or Florida as a dark horse. I would watch LSU, and the other one would be Lenora Sellers, the quarterback at South Carolina, who I think is amazing and has the capability if he takes another step as a passer to go first overall this time next year.
As a Miami fan, do you know that the U of U here in Utah, their fans have a bone to pick because they like to think of themselves as the U, but we always hear about Miami being the U. I mean, it is a conflict. I don't know that it'll ever be resolved.
I've heard this. I've also heard that the University of Minnesota calls themselves the U as well, which is even weirder because they're not even a U team. I think we can both. We are. It's going to be awkward. Don't we play in 2 years in Vegas? Mm-hmm. I think that's happening, and so I think we can come to an agreement then. We'll hang out, enjoy Vegas, and we can all have a good time and throw up the U together.
Settle the U.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
Kevin. We appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on and talking football.
Thanks, guys.
Kevin Clark, he's the host of This Is Football on ESPN. DJ and PK, your feedback next.
Hear ye, all business owners, a call to action. I want to endorse your product. Let's get together and be a team, me and you. I want to endorse it, so what you need to do is text PK to 57500, and our sales staff will take care of the rest. Business owners, let's make beautiful money together. Text PK. Let me spell it for you. PK to 57500.
Breaking news from Adam Schefter at ESPN. Commanders and wide receiver Terry McLaurin reached an agreement on a 3-year contract extension that will end his hold-in, get him in uniform for the opener with the Giants. Sources tell Adam Schefter the extension is worth up to $96 million. How much is guaranteed? How much in bonuses? We'll probably get some more reporting on that here in a little while.
I can't wait to find that out.
There it is.
Get back to me on that, those sources. Listening to Devin Dampier there. I'm all about winning. I'd love to have a player. Yeah, I just care about my personal stats, man. As long as I get mine.
As long as I get my numbers and I get paid my NIL, whatever, dude.
Yeah, I win either way. You worry about that other stuff. Excited for him to see what he can do.
Multiple questions up on our Facebook page. Ryder Lyons was awesome in his high school's win on TV Saturday night. Is he the next great BYU quarterback? Rostifer says, well, that depends. Is the earth round?
I don't know. I will talk to my fellow New Jerseyan Kyrie Irving. Yeah, is the earth round? Well, from a global standpoint it is, but there's a lot of flatlands out there. You play Glendale, it's easy to walk. You go play Bountiful Ridge, it's much harder.
Aha!
So it depends.
Not walking Old Mill. Too much up and down there.
Some's is flat, some's is round.
Iowa State beat Kansas State. Did watching this game give you confidence BYU and Utah can win the Big 12 championship? Steve says, after watching this game, it gave me the utmost confidence that BYU will win the ship and that Utah will go 3-8. Not even going to play the 12th game. It's going to go so poorly.
I don't see that. I believe that this year, and mark this down, people, will be the first year that BYU and Utah play each other twice in a season.
There it is.
If not 3 times.
Now you're talking.
For all those who want me to leave the market, if they play 3 times this year.
Oh, no, we're out. We're out.
We can never do any better.
They split the first 2. They're both 12-1 because it's the only game they lose.
Yeah.
And then they meet again in the title game.
Yeah.
At 15-1 versus 15-1, be Ollie Frazier, round 3. Give me another
That'd
third
be Ollie
matchup.
Landry and Varsity Blues with the.
Didn't think Ollie Landry was going to get a shout out this morning.
Well, the only thing that could have made that scene better was carrot cake.
Did you? Nice. Tiffany Amber Thiessen reference this morning, too. You don't watch shows.
I would like to eat all that cake.
Did you? Stop. You don't watch shows. Did your wife ever watch Heroes and tell you about her in it? Because there's no way you watched Heroes.
Heroes?
Yeah.
We could be heroes just for one day.
It was a science fiction / adventure.
I love
show.
Science fiction.
She played 2 characters. She played twins. She was good.
That's kind of like Samantha Stevens. She played Samantha, and then her crazy cousin.
There you go.
What was her name?
I don't remember. Do you?
No. Stella.
I
don't know.
Sigma Ute says that Kansas State-Iowa State game, both teams look tough, but that was pretty sloppy football. But it's a rivalry game, season opener, overseas 4,000 miles from home, and it's raining. I make no big judgments.
Oh, I think they're quality teams.
That's what he said. He thought they both looked tough, but beyond that.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to beat them, but maybe it's tough to beat you guys too, BYU and Utah. Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right, DJ and PK, we're all done. Jake and Ben are next, right here on The Zone.